Onlooker him! One-handed catch! Oh, he's got it!
Welcome to the cockpit. My name's Ryan and I'll be your pilot tonight. Welcome in to the call-in show. I'm going to talk to the chat. Hear you guys. What you have to say for the first half hour. Then at 8:30, we're going to go to the phone lines. I'm going to put 3 minutes on the clock after 3 minutes.
That's it! You're out of here!
Oh, that's right. You get ejected by the chicken. Looking forward to it. Excited to talk to you guys. We got to know who's in the Super Bowl. You got Sammy Darnold making it before Josh Allen. Feeling good about ourselves there. Yeah, obviously the 49ers versus the Kansas City Chiefs. The Super Bowl that no one wanted. I very much wanted Detroit to win, and I very much wanted the Ravens to win. I guess I shouldn't say I was against the 49ers because that's not really the case. I don't really mind if they... I'm rooting for the 49ers in the Super Bowl, but I was hoping for the Lions to get in. I'm excited. Excited to get into it with you guys. I see Connor's in here. What's up, dude? Addison says, Jet up! Daniel, yo. Wild Wave. What's up, dude? Alan says, did you change the time of your show? So normally I go 8 o'clock to 10 o'clock on my Monday call-in show. I've switched it to 9 to 11 because I was doing 2 shows on other channels from 6 o'clock to 7:15 and then 7:30 to 8:30. So those shows have since ended. So I am now back to the 8 o'clock to 10 o'clock time slot. And possibly might make the call-in show 8 o'clock to 9 o'clock, or 9 o'clock to 10 o'clock, because Dom C and I are going to be doing a show over on the new Talking Jets channel. Little draft show. If you guys haven't checked that out, that launches, is it the 5th? I think it's the 5th is what we're talking about. What's today's date? The 29th? I got to get on it. But yeah, we're supposed to start that on the 5th, myself and Dom. Andrew, what's good, dude? Nice to see you in here. Yes, Connor, calls are going to start at 8:30. Jordan says, excited to talk some Jets. Always excited. Blitz Crew, glad I randomly checked. I was thinking this would start at 9. I know, right? I slid in there and I changed it last second. I actually didn't know I wasn't doing the other 2 shows until, I should say this afternoon. I should have changed it a little bit earlier. Didn't do it. My bad. Mark says, Ola. Zach says, Shrine Bowl and Senior Bowl this week. That's right. I have not kept a close eye on the Shrine Bowl. That's one that, like the East-West Shrine Bowl, that's one that I'm not usually as dialed into as I am the Senior Bowl. So I'm looking forward to doing a little bit of research on that one myself. We got NY Jet Superfan in here. What's up? Glad to have you in the chat. Robert, let's go Jets. Oh, I finally got someone with my channel name in there stuff. I don't know who you are, but thank you. Jets talk 24/7 all day. Zach is bad. Yeah, Zach's not too good. That's all right. I'm going to root for him as long as he's on the Jets, which probably is not that much longer. James says, thoughts about trading for a competent tight end? I think we have 2 competent tight ends in Ruckert and Conklin. I don't want to trade for a tight end. I would be open to signing one if one hits the open market that you like. I would be open to drafting maybe a Bowers or someone maybe a little bit later, but I don't really want to trade an asset for a tight end. And I'll be honest, I'm not like crazy about, I shouldn't say I'm not crazy about Bowers because I think he would be an interesting pick, but I think my concern lies with the lack of depth in free agency for offensive line and the stacked nature of the class. I would feel real pissed if we still have offensive line issues and we took a tight end instead of an offensive lineman or something along those lines. So I would, I'm not that I'm against tight end, but I very much don't want to go crazy on tight end. NY Flight Jets Talk. What's up, Connor? Thank you so much for the super chat. If you guys have not subbed up Connor, you should totally sub up Connor. He's getting great people over on his podcast. He's got Samini going over there. Tannenbaum's been on there. I've been on there. I know my name should fall right in line with all those guys, but I'm looking forward to it. Connor says, I would like to thank you for all the support you've given me throughout starting my channel. Of course, Connor, anything you need, I'm willing to help you out, dude. I hope you had a great weekend. I did. Thank you. I have a question. Who would you rather have at tackle next year, Bakhtiari or Jonah Williams? So that's a very interesting question. I really like this one. This is a solid question. So the conundrum here between the two is that Jonah Williams has not played great. He's like kind of like not that good. Like from when I had him in my mock-off season till like the end of the season, very much, not that it changed a crazy ton, but it very much feels like he's no longer like the top offensive lineman available. And then you have Bakhtiari, who is probably the best or going to be the best available tackle on the market, but he's got injury problems. So Jonah Williams has played almost every game since he had the season-ending injury his rookie year. But you have Bakhtiari, who doesn't play at all. So, for me, I very much would prefer consistency over the inability to stay on the field. Now, I have seen reports that the issue that was ailing Bakhtiari the last few years was some sort of like trimmed ligament or some type of cartilage maybe in his knee that the doctor said at the time of the initial injury, this could be a problem, but we're going to wait. And over the last 3 years, it has been a problem. And he has since, I believe it was September or early October, had the surgery to correct that. So you have to decide, do you believe the surgery is going to fix the problem of the top 5 tackle? Because that's really enticing to me. I very much, if you think the health is there at this point and he's willing to come here, it's going to be hard for me probably to turn down Bakhtiari. You'd have to like go through a few other, not even a few other options. Honestly, it depends what he wants. I don't want to give him a big guarantee if he's not going to stay on the field. So I would rather have an incentive-laden deal with him and roll the dice and then maybe have the fallback option of whoever we draft at 10 / Elijah Vera Tucker to kick out to tackle. That to me is interesting, especially if they really like Carter Warren. If you really like Carter Warren and you think he could have been a starting offensive lineman had he not had the injury last year or his last year of college, then maybe it's worth it to have a Tyron Smith or a Bakhtiari groom your young tackle while you're trying to do that. I don't know. I would say of these two, I have some information that I believe to be true. I think it's probably pretty likely that the Jets are interested in Jonah Williams. And I would think Jonah Williams will see the money signs that the New York Jets are willing to pay, and he will be wanted there, where he was not necessarily wanted in Cincinnati because they traded for Orlando Brown. He requested a trade and stuff. So I don't know. It's going to be interesting. It's going to come down to, I think, money, how confident you are in Bakhtiari. Does Bakhtiari even want to play on MetLife's turf? I think that's going to be an interesting question to try and answer. I would think the Jets will probably try to go with someone who's not injury prone. So I do think Jonah Williams is squarely going to be on our radar. So Connor, thank you so much. And if you guys have not checked out Connor's podcast, I highly suggest you go over there, check it out. Connor's good people. All right, let's keep going through a little bit of it. Blitzkrieg says, Matt did a little bit of a rundown on the Shrine Bowl earlier today. So I know Dom C got all 22 footage from the Shrine Bowl. So I'm looking forward to or maybe the players going into the Shrine Bowl, or maybe it was the practices going on. I have to go back and look at it. I just have not had enough time to devote to the Shrine Bowl. I've been running around a little bit the last few days here. So I will absolutely check up on Matt's video. I did see it posted. I just did not actually go into it. Charles says, what's up, batches of cookies? What's up, dude? Yankee Jet says, what's up, Jet Nation? Good to have you. Blitzkrieg says, we have 2 competent tight ends. Not sure we have that elite weapon tight end. I agree. Bowers could be that. I don't know if I'm necessarily going out and looking for that in like free agency or a trade market. But after seeing the playoffs, the last 4 teams that were in the playoffs, the final 2 games we just saw, Laporta, Mark Andrews, Kittle. Who am I missing here? Kelsey. 4 elite tight ends. I mean, it's a compelling case. I put a tweet out, and I did it on purpose to get people all riled up. And I said, watching this Chiefs game, you cannot tell me that the right tight end is not worth a top 10 pick. And of course, I knew I was going to bait people into saying, well, what do you mean? We don't have offensive line. We don't have wide receivers. Engagement. Sorry. But I stand by that. I stand by, if you select the right tight end That tight end is worth a top 10 pick. And I would say that the issue is the evaluation process. You cannot guarantee that you're getting that great tight end, which is why they wind up falling and why it makes more sense to draft a tight end in the later rounds. Like, there's a much higher chance that Bowers busts as a top 10 pick than ends up looking like a Kelsey or a Kittle or one of those guys. Now, if there was a redraft of Kittle, Kelsey, Laporta, all those guys, they're all going top 10. Every single one of them. So to say tight end isn't valuable in the top 10 is erroneous from people. Not saying that you're saying that, Blitzker. I'm just speaking in generalities here. People that say tight end is not worth the top 10 pick are wrong. If you find the right tight end, absolutely worth the top 10 pick. You can't tell me you'd want D. Milliner over Travis Kelsey. Or, I mean, I guess you'd probably put, I think Mark Andrews was the same draft as Darnold. So you obviously would take Darnold over Mark Andrews. But like any of the other ones, like Kittle, I don't know who drafted that year. But like you can go through the list and just say like, man, Jamal Adams, I think, might have been the Kittle year. And then Laporta instead of Will McDonald. Like if I'm going through the list of stuff, like, yeah, I'm going to take every one of those guys in the first round, sans the, with the exception of the Darnold thing, because we needed the quarterback. I don't know. People give tight ends a bad name in the first round, but I'm with you guys. I do like it. Jack says, I love Bowers. He's basically a receiver and a lineman. That's kind of how I've tried to view him. That's how I've tried to view Bowers. Is you're not drafting just a wide receiver. You're not drafting just an offensive lineman. You're drafting a guy that can kind of give you a little bit of both. He's not going to be an inline blocker. Blewett has a good breakdown on him. Blewett's not high on Bowers. I do trust Blewett's breakdowns. But a lot of people are very high on Bowers. So you kind of got to weigh that with that as well. I like his receiving options. Blewett's knock on him is the contested catches, and maybe people are overhyping his blocking. My stance is if one of the left tackles is there, Fashanu or Alt, I'm taking them. Then it gets a little murkier. How did free agency go? And then I start discussing, I would probably say Odunze's ahead of Bowers for me. And then I would also consider like a trade down. And then, also a Fuaga, Mims, a Latham, any one of those guys. I'm definitely more high on Latham than I think a lot of other people are. I think a lot of people are afraid of the size comparison to Mekhi Becton as opposed to the body of work that you've gotten out of Latham. Zachary says, do you get a slot guy or just keep Gibson there? I would get a slot guy. I shouldn't even pencil it in as just a slot guy. I would like to get someone that you can move around the formation equally or comparably to like a Garrett Wilson. Like Garrett Wilson, I would love to have lined up in the slot because he's going to get free releases all the time. But if you're talking from like, Garrett Wilson is an outside receiver, then I would like to get, maybe like a Curtis Samuel. I think that would be really cool. I want the bigger bodied wide receiver. And I know that's kind of like a weird term because Lazard's a bigger bodied wide receiver, but I want a guy that's good at contested catches. I want a guy that, provides the profile that we thought we were getting with Lazard. And to me, a Cortland Sutton does that. If you want a really cheap option, maybe you go after DJ Shark. I think that is a very high upside guy that you could get for like $4 or $5 million. He signed a 1-year, $5 million deal with Carolina this past year. You can't tell me he wouldn't try to take a $5 million deal to come up here with the Jets to roll the dice on Rodgers for a year because maybe he can parlay that into a good contract. I don't know. Jets life. Jets set for life. Thank you for the hearts. Thank you. Alan says, $20 from 12-year-old. Someone is getting a good allowance. Connor, you're a good man. I appreciate it. Hi Kung Fu says, your show is one of the best. You are knowledgeable, and I'd rather watch you and the roundtable than ESPN. Hey Kung Fu. Thank you. I very much appreciate that. I try to frame a lot of my takes in sometimes in reality. Sometimes there's tinfoil on the inside of my hat, and I'll go all conspiracy theory, and I love a good conspiracy theory. But thank you. I appreciate that. I started this channel because I was frustrated with how the coverage was of our team in particular, the New York Jets. But I try to keep an honest eye out as best I can. And I'll give you the little bit of nuggets that I pop into my brain as I go throughout this thing. Kevin James. Let's go Jets. What's up, dude? James hops in the chat. James says, question, if these three quarterbacks are there in the third round, who would you want? Pratt, Travis, Rattler. Plus, would you ever trade up for JJ? I don't think I'm trading up for JJ. I don't think we're going to invest a premium pick, I put it this way. I don't think the Jets are investing a premium pick in a quarterback. If I were to trade for a quarterback or to make a pick higher than what I'm thinking of right now, like my mindset is maybe third round, fourth round is kind of where I'm feeling the quarterback if one of these guys slides. I would consider trading down. Like, let's say there's a scenario where the Jets and I don't know. Let me pull up Tankathon real quick just so I know where everyone is on the draft board. So Denver is sitting at 12. Las Vegas is sitting at 13. Do those two teams, are they looking for a quarterback? And if they're looking for a quarterback and there's one on the board at 10, do they feel like Minnesota, Denver, or Las Vegas, one of those three teams, would want the quarterback? Because if one of them wants a quarterback and they want to come up, well, hey, Denver, you're looking to get rid of Cortland Sutton, possibly, or a Jerry Jeudy, or Las Vegas. Maybe there's a situation where they say, we will move Devontae Adams, but we want to go up and get our quarterback at the same time. I don't think Adams is on the table. But when you slide down and you give me a wide receiver or maybe an offensive lineman, Denver's got Garrett Bowles, who's going to be a $16 million cap relief if they wind up cutting him. Left tackle, graded out as one of the best pass blocking tackles in the league this past year. I would consider trading down, picking up my offensive lineman or my wide receiver, ideally a wide receiver and a trade down, and then draft your offensive lineman. But if you wanted to slide further down and you've addressed some of your needs in free agency, which I don't find super likely, or you're able to get a second round pick in some capacity, then maybe you start, gearing your brain towards McCarthy. Of those three, I have a mock draft coming out this week. I don't know if it's going to be tomorrow. It's probably going to be Wednesday or Thursday. And I'll give you a little peek inside there. Pratt is one of the selections I do make in that mock draft. So I guess all things considered, yes, I would go Pratt. Let's see. Where did I see that in here? WM, what's up, brother? It says, Rodgers spent 15 years on an organization that is elite at drafting offensive linemen. He knows what good tackles look like. Assume he'll be involved in some way. I think just getting Aaron Rodgers back in general is going to make our offensive line look better. So he may, in part, help aid our tackle search because of his skill set. I don't know, just from like looking at offensive linemen in free agency, if there's one out there. Now, obviously, I think he's going to want Bakhtiari. I don't know if Bakhtiari wants the Jets. I don't know if Joe Douglas wants Bakhtiari necessarily. But I would say there's a lot of untapped potential inside Aaron Rodgers' head. Now, that being said, we brought in a lot of his buddies that didn't work out. So I'm a little less confident in Mr. Rodgers' analysis right now. But I do think you have to lean on it to some degree. I think when you signed him to that contract and renegotiated it here and you got him traded here and everything, you kind of wrote yourself down as doing whatever he needed. Wild Wave says, no to Jonah Williams. He's an average, and that's me being nice about it. He's not worth the money. It depends what the money is. Like, are you talking like $16, $20 million a year? I would say no. Jonah Williams is not worth that. Not at all. Hawk says, I would fix the Jets just like in the Bugs Bunny cartoon. Oh, I'd fix them all right. I'm not exactly sure what that means. Jack says, what would you say the odds are for the Jets changing uniforms this offseason? I think it's 100%. I think it's definitely going to happen. I've been saying for a while now it's going to happen. I have a source inside the Jets. I know. Sorry, I'm going to sources bro you, but the person that I spoke with said it's been decided. They're going to the legacy jersey. I have not seen any of the greens or the blacks or whatever their other colorways are going to be, or if there's like some slight variation to what the legacies are going to be, but I've heard the legacy is going to be what's going to be going down. Zachary says, the weigh-ins for the Senior Bowl were today, I believe. Yes, and Patrick Paul, the offensive tackle from Houston, Utah? I think it's Utah. Is a beast. 6'7". I think he had 36-inch arms. Guy's enormous. Absolute monster. Alan says, always draft an Iowa tight end. Take a flyer on Eric all in round 6 or 7, or wait till 2025 and draft Luke Lackey. I like the Iowa tight ends. It's hard not to. Wild Wave says, I don't see Bowers being a bust. Dude, no one saw Ike Ekwonu or Neal being a bust, and they stink. Yankee Jet says, where was Kelsey drafted? I think he was 3rd round, if I'm not mistaken, 3rd or 5th. Like all the tight ends that were left in the playoffs last night, I think the highest drafted one was Laporta, and I think he was the 2nd round. So everyone else is lower than that. See, Alan says round 3. There you go. Alabama Jets fan says, fixing the Jets, free agency, sign 1 wide receiver, 1 offensive lineman, 1 quarterback. Draft. If 1 through 9 go well, trade back with a team. 1st round pick swap. Jets get O-line and a 3rd and give up a 5th. Draft O-line with the later 1st round pick. Jets get an O-lineman and a 3rd and give up a 5th. So you're saying we get an offensive lineman in the pick swap without using the selection on the offensive lineman. So then you would draft an offensive lineman in addition to that lineman that you got in the trade with the pick you got by trading down. Draft a quarterback and a wide receiver with the 3rds. Thoughts? Yeah, I think I'm with that. I guess it depends on how far down you're going and the quality of the offensive lineman that you're getting. But let's say you have now 2/3. Yeah, I would go receiver and quarterback in the 3rd round at that point. I would consider receiver and guard and still take quarterback in the 4th. Yeah, it kind of depends how many pieces that you think in this draft can help you for this year. Because I want to focus that 1st and 3rd round primarily on players that will help us this year. And drafting a quarterback to me is not that. Like even a backup quarterback, if Rodgers is missing any extended amount of time, we're not making a Super Bowl. Like that won't happen. He has to be back for the playoffs in order for that to be the case. So I don't think a quarterback's going to help us in this particular 3rd round necessarily, but I would consider it. 4th round is sort of where I'm angling for. Wildwave says, Blewett gave JJ a low grade in 2022. I don't agree with some of the stuff he says. Yeah, look, Blewett's not always right. He was right on Evan Neal. He was right on N'Keal Harry. So his analysis is sound. It's just some guys pan out, some guys don't. If he was like ideal all the time, and I think he would agree with this, he would probably be a pro scout. But he knows his ball. He does. I trust Joe's opinion on this stuff. Oh, I got to throw this one on screen. Joe, you'll like this if you're watching. Blewett is the only imbecile in America that does not like Bowers. Nah, there's plenty of imbeciles. Joe's just one of them. Jet Set Life says, I read an article today from Detroit Free Press that says they have 29 free agents. Sounds crazy. Offensive line, safety, wide receiver, linebacker, probably worth snooping around. Yeah, and I would look at the teams that have cap issues as well. So I think the Cowboys have cap issues. The Broncos have cap issues. The Dolphins have cap issues. Those are the teams that I would keep an eye on. Even the Bills are going to have some cap issues. Keep an eye on all those teams. Adirondack guy says, Garrett Wilson, number 1 wide receiver. Ridley, number 2 wide receiver. Cortland Sutton, number 3 wide receiver. That's bananas. And that's coming from me, who wants Cortland Sutton. I would love Cortland Sutton. I think it would be a very good move for the New York Jets because he's under 2 years, $13 and $13.5 million. That's the price range we need to kind of be in. Because from what you're talking about right here, let's assume we traded for Cortland Sutton and got the favorable contract that he's currently on. This one, the Ridley one, is going to be $17+ million a year realistically. And we're going to have to battle with a bunch of other guys, a bunch of other teams. So I don't think it's likely. I think Ridley, the Jets are going to be interested, but I don't know if Ridley is going to be as interested in the Jets as we are with him. WM, following up with his prior super chat, says, I assume he'd be involved in drafting an offensive tackle. Oh, okay. So if you guys are just tuning in, WM was saying Rodgers spent 15 years on an organization that is elite at drafting offensive linemen. He knows what good tackles look like. Assume he'll be involved in some way in the evaluation process of an offensive lineman through the draft. I got what you're saying. Yeah, I would think so. Maybe to some degree, they might say like, okay, hey, we're looking at a few offensive linemen. What's your input? I would think you're probably not going crazy far with that because you're going to trust your scouts and your evaluation guys. but I would think weighing his opinion wouldn't be a bad thing to do. The big fella says, if I'm Joe Douglas, I'm drafting Jalen Wright in round 4 through 5, especially if we get draft capital for Huff. All right, so I'm going to do a little bit of reconnaissance right now because I'm not sure who we're talking about right now. Tennessee, 5'11", 210-pound running back. So I have not watched anything on him. I will not blow smoke up your ass, but I will give you a little bit of his scouting report. Pro Football Focus has him as the 121st ranked player on their board. NFL Draft Buzz 154, and then MDDB has him as 285, which I believe would put him in undrafted territory range. So it seems like the scouting report on him is all over the map. And I would imagine the combine and some of these other things are going to wind up helping his case. But if I'm looking at running back, I would love in the later rounds to get me some Frank Gore Jr. I'm a big legacy guy. Like, if you could tell me that, you go down the line, right? Like Patrick Surtain Jr. You see Asante Samuel Jr. go either early second, late first. I forget where he wound up going. Marvin Harrison Jr. You got Jerry Rice Jr. Brendan Rice, Jerry Rice's son in this particular draft class. You got Chris Jenkins Jr. in this draft class. You've seen, the Watt brothers have a bunch of success. You've seen the Bosa brothers have a bunch of success. I'll take a crack at the young Gore, I think. Hawk says Bauer's best possible comp is Kittle as his ceiling, but he's probably more like a Mike Gesicki with slightly better blocking at the NFL level. I have heard that, and I've definitely heard that from Blewett that he's more Gesicki than he is. He had used the term Kelsey, but yeah, that seems to be right. Hawk says, Charles, not after he gets some of that chicken soup. I know what you're talking about. Abreu Roca says, please translate for English. Aqui no Brazil. Sorry, dude. That's not my cup of tea. I have no idea what you just said. WM says Kincaid was a first-round tight end. I really like Kincaid. If you go back to my draft analysis last year, I said he was the best pass catcher in the entire draft last year, at least of like the earlier guys. Now, if I had to reassess that, I would probably say Zay Flowers would be higher up there. But yeah, I stand by my Kincaid analysis. I really liked him. I would have preferred Kincaid at 15 over like a Quentin Johnson or Johnston or something like that. I thought he was gonna be a bust. Zachary says, would you draft a quarterback late or wait to draft one in 2025? I would take one in this draft. I think it's the smart move. So Big Fella says, I watched Jalen Wright all year because my son goes to the University of TK. How do I not know TK? Oh, Nashville? University of Tennessee, Nashville. Is that what it is? Okay, I guess that makes sense. Take a look at his tape, especially against the top teams. Yeah, I'll definitely look at it. He's got the profile. I mean, 5'11", 210, that's a nice back. They call him a workhorse back. So I'll go through his strengths real quick. Wright runs with violence. He's capable of thrashing through tacklers, and Wright has natural balance to withstand contact. You know what? I feel like the strengths are always going to be good strengths. Let's go with the weaknesses. See where he's not good. By process of elimination, he's maybe better at the other stuff. Wright has a slight build, especially for a running back, and Wright isn't going to grind out yards between the tackles, as he lacks power and runs with a fairly high pad level. Has a lean frame, which lacks ideal bulk or muscle for the position. Doesn't have great strength, lacking power element to his game, to break many tackles. Wright isn't going to overwhelm opposing defensive backs with speed and athleticism. So based on just that weakness, I would have to go back and look at tape because this does not sound, I guess 210 is light for 5'11". I guess most running backs are probably sub 5'10" and then closer to 215, 220. I want a bruiser of a back. I want someone who's going to get you that like 2-3 yards up the middle on the goal line. Frank Gore's a little bit more of like, he looks fast from the tape I was watching. You got Carson Steele, a later round running back. I know Green Bean really likes him. That's someone I would consider maybe. I have to watch right though. I have not watched anything on him. Oreo says, any news if the coin has us winning it all next year? Oh man, the coin, they did the coin flip bracket, right? Was that last year they did that? How would that wind up being? We're going to have to take a look at that. I would like to see the Super Bowl logo for next year's Super Bowl be like some green on it. I guess the theory of the Super Bowl logo is dead on arrival right now. Douglas says, hope to God Rodgers would be better at recommending offensive linemen than wide receiver or offensive coordinator. Yeah, I would hope he's better than what we've currently gotten out of him right now. Oreo says, if we don't win next year, do we blow everything up? I think you need to at least get to the divisional round. And I would argue you need to get a playoff win. I think if the Jets win the division, which is, in my opinion, the most likely way the Jets get to the playoffs, I think the AFC is going to be incredibly hard next year with Harbaugh going to LA, with Burrow coming back, with Watson coming back. So I would say it's likely to get blown up if the Jets don't make it to the division round, or how it looks. Like if we get blown out in the wild card round, or if we put up a fight and we get screwed, like I think they'll stay around. But I would say I don't know. I'm not a gambling man right now. Blitzkrieg says, thoughts on Mike Thomas from the Saints as wide receiver 3. So when I was doing like my look at stuff, I was like, man, I don't mind Michael Thomas, but he had such a funky last few years that he'd be a little further down on my list before I'd pencil him in as like, okay, we solved wide receiver 2. He's kind of in that Lazard, but like a much better Lazard sort of mindset for me. Like if I could omit Lazard and bring in Michael Thomas, that would probably be more my line. I don't know if he's the guy that he's not high on my list. I'll say that. Not right now, at least. Not opposed to it, but just not I'd have to go down the list of things before I wind up getting to him. All right. So let me throw this on the screen. I'm going to throw the QR code up there. If you guys want to call into the show, you can scan the QR code. That'll get you on. I've got a few people waiting right now. We're going to go over to Lima Bean, then Charles. Then I've got Connor, Nick, and Jake on the line. So let me jump over to Lima Bean first. Lima Bean, how you doing, dude?
Doing good. I mean, now once you said that Blewett has Bowers out, I'm out on Bowers, man. I'm done. What is it?
Dude,
he
Blewett's good.
wasn't down on JJ. He literally said that JJ's more of a bottom first round pick by his status. And when he got drafted, he said he went where he's supposed to go. He wasn't down on him. He wouldn't put him on a top 10 pick. That's all what he said. But Blewett, I mean, I'm not saying he's perfect, but he's been right about a lot of things. I've been watching his podcast for like a few years now, and the more I watch his show and just in general, like all these podcasts, the more I realize the draft is so overhyped, man. Half these players are going to be busts or underperformers, man. Like, it's just, I still remember, I mean, I'm never going to let Green Bean hold the Kyle Hamilton thing down, man. It's just,
yo, he's been good. I'm not going to lie. I like Kyle Hamilton, but I would not have taken him at 10.
He's a great, strong safety who can make all the tackles, but he was claimed to be Ed Reed, who's going to make the game-changing interceptions, which would have actually changed the game.
He had 3 plays in a row yesterday that were just like, blocked catch. He got the quarterback off his mark and threw a bad pass.
Yeah, I'm sure he'll remember that on the couch in 2 weeks. Like it's just, but like it's just. I'm not saying he's a much better version of Jamal Adams, but like the point is, I also guarantee. But remember, C.J. Mosley was an All-Pro, like middle linebacker who did similar things, but as a linebacker for the Ravens, and they still let him go. You just don't keep those guys long term. You keep, like I said, Ed Reed was a difference maker on a much grander scale because he created turnovers. Kyle Hamilton's great at stopping things, but in the end, Mahomes still got another chance, and he still did what he did. Like, so, it's just I'm not saying he's a bad pick, but people were like, we got to take him like number 4 overall, number 2 overall. He's going to go number 1. He's going to go like, he's not that good. Like,
people were freaking out on Hamilton. I think he wound up going 14 overall in that.
I mean, him and same thing with Traylon Burks. So you got to take him, and Blue was like, no, this guy's going to suck. And like, Titans finding out, like, he's not that good. Blue's been right about a lot, like, I mean, with Matt's Boyd's blocker, like, once he's out on Bowers, I'm like, yo, fuck that guy. No, we're done. We're not going back.
I don't know if he's
we're-
necessarily out on Bowers. I think he's just not as high as on him. Like, I think if someone took him 15 or 20, he'd probably be all right with it. But I think
Here's
it's
the-
the 10 passing on the offensive lineman.
When it comes to tight ends, it's not just their profile, it's how they develop. Like Kittle was a 5th-round pick, Kelsey was a 3rd, and it took them like 3 or 4 years to get to their top tier like thing. It takes time, and that's the thing. Like you can't, the draft profiles rarely work out so quickly. And like the guy the Falcons took,
Laporta hit
he's
real
looking
fast.
average.
Kelsey hit real fast. I mean, Kelsey, I think he's always had 1,000-yard seasons. I think even his. Well,
No,
I
it
have to
took
go
him.
back.
It took him till year 3 because the first 2 years were like mid-tier with Alex Smith, and then he got really going like later on. Like it took, and same thing with Kittle. Like I think 2nd, 3rd year, that's when they start really going at it. But like it takes time. Tight ends take a while to develop, usually on average. And the last thing I want to say, because I know you got a lot of calls, is that
Boom! Sorry, that would
You're out of here!
I am going to be ruthless with my chicken tonight. Love the chicken. Charles, welcome to the cockpit.
Hey Ryan, how are you, buddy?
I'm hanging in there. I'm enjoying the championship weekend, going into Senior Bowl week right now. How you feeling, Charles?
I feel good, man. I watched the NFC Championship game. I wanted the Lions to win, but hey, man, you got to give the 49ers credit.
Dude, I was surprised how they fell apart. The Lions up 17 points, and then just I feel so bad for their fans. Dan Campbell screwed that up.
Too.
He made some bad calls.
I agree, but I still think he did a great job coaching this year.
I agree. I would take Dan Campbell in a heartbeat.
Same here. Anyways, I just looked up Joe Alt height.
6'7".
He's
6'8".
6'8". He's taller
Yeah,
than
he's-
Mekhi Becton,
He's a
but he
mountain.
weighs much less, though.
I think he's like 40 pounds less than Mekhi, if I'm not mistaken. I think he's like 320, 330.
He's 322.
See, it's like I've done some research. I like
Yeah,
him.
he's 6'8". He's a monster son of a bitch. Anyway,
I don't think he's going. I think his floor is
some people say
probably the Titans.
he's not going to get past 7.
That's exactly it. Titans are at 7. He's not getting past there.
Unless, we could get lucky and like we did with Jermaine Johnson at 26.
We need Joe Alt to just be ripping bongs and just
Ripping
being
bongs?
in the
What the
wrong
hell you
spot
mean
all the
ripping
time to just
bongs,
fall
bro?
down to us.
Yeah, I know. I really like this young man. I think he's going to be great wherever he goes. But you said that guy, Patrick Paul from Houston, you say he's a great player?
I think it's Houston. Before I keep spouting off about that, I'm almost positive it is.
I looked him up. He's from Houston.
It is
Houston
Houston. Okay.
Cougars.
Yeah, dude, 6'7". He's got, I think it's 36-inch arms. He's a beast. He's really good. So I like him. I like Jordan Morgan, the tackle out of Arizona, and then I like, obviously, I like Fuaga, but Fashanu and Alt are the other ones. If you're penciling in, there's a lot of good tackles. I could see the Jets sliding down and liking a lot of these different guys.
Same here. I would like to also, I also got to agree with my boy Sauce. Huge shout out to him. I would love me some Calvin Ridley. I have always been a fan of Calvin Ridley since his days with Atlanta. I know he got suspended back in 2020 because of gambling, but hey, all is forgiven.
Sure.
He learned his lesson. I would love Calvin Ridley. He is probably the best route runner I've seen in quite a long time.
I would say he's the best one to come, to be a free agent right now. But, Stefan Diggs is really good. Garrett Wilson's really good. There's a lot of good route runners out
Well, I know that, but I'm seeing outside of the ones we have in the division and on the Jets, I say he's probably the best route runner I've seen in a long time. Anyways, peace out, Ryan.
Take it easy, Charles. You've been ejected
You're out of here!
from the cockpit. Big fella comes in and says, can you tell me about the offensive tackle out of BYU? I can tell you a little bit. I don't know a crazy ton about him. It's Kingsley Suamatia. Now, they had him listed on our Senior Bowl roster as an offensive lineman or an offensive tackle, which implies that he plays left tackle, right tackle, but I have not done a lot of research on him. So let me do a little bit of Kingsley. All right. 6'6", 325 pounds. Let's see. He went to Oregon and then transferred to BYU as a sophomore. He never played with Zach. because Zach came out in what, 21? Freshman? Yeah, no, they never played together. But this is crazy. Look at this. He hit 21.5 miles per hour last year at 318 pounds. That's a monster. That's insanely fast for a big man. Yeah, look, I have not done enough research scouting on him because I'm not necessarily looking to go that far down the tackle rung to get to him. All right, let's pop into Connor. Connor, how you doing, brother?
Ryan, how are you doing tonight?
I am feeling good. Dude, I've been really impressed with your podcast so far. Guys, this is
Thank
Connor.
you.
Connor, plug yourself.
NY Flight Jets Talk. Thank you, Ryan. Appreciate all the support.
Of course.
Yeah, going with the tackles in the draft. I think Kingsley S. I don't want to mispronounce the last name. Is a guy I can see going in that 20 area, the mid 20s, the 24 to 27 kind of area. One guy that I'm staying away from at all costs is JC Latham. JC Latham is a guy that I'm not even looking at. He's literally Mekhi Becton out of Alabama. If Mekhi Becton went to Alabama,
I've heard a lot of people say that, and is it just the size profile, or is there something that you don't like about him?
It's the injuries. It's his knees. His knees are terrible. Stay away from JC Latham. Fawaga, I like Fawaga. Some people are saying that Fawaga is gonna be better than Olu. I know Wildwave has been saying it. I think the plan for Olu is to go to guard in the NFL. That's what I've heard. I've heard he might transition to guard in the NFL. I think Joe Alto, solid guy. I mean, he could probably have a terrible combine and he's still not making it past that Titans team. I don't know, but I can definitely see Bowers to the Chargers. I mean, that Herbert to Bowers connection. There were some mock drafts where was it Jeremiah? It was Daniel Jeremiah's where he had the Jets taking Fawaga over Fashanu and Fashanu falling to 13 with the Raiders, which I find interesting.
They're losing a lot of offensive linemen, the Raiders. They could lose their center, a guard, and a tackle.
Yeah, I don't know. That Raiders team, they're saying it's not going to be a big rebuild. I don't know. I think that team's in trouble for a long time.
I think they're getting Russell Wilson for $1 million this year. And Denver's going to pay his salary. I think it's definitely happening.
Oh, I could see Justin Fields going to the Raiders.
I could see that. That would be a fun one.
I mean, Fields to Adams. I mean, come on.
I would like to see Fields to Atlanta. He's a Georgia guy, so I would like to see him go home to Georgia. I always enjoy that sort of stuff.
You think Belichick's going to get a job or no?
Not this year. I don't know about next year. The NFL may have passed him by. I mean, even defensive coordinators are having a tougher time getting a job. And one that's 70 years old who hasn't had a whole lot of success since Brady left, and Brady went and left and got a Super Bowl. That to me gives me a little bit of shaky footing for Belichick.
As much as it hurt the draft position, could you imagine Belichick's last game in the NFL losing to Nate Hackett, Trevor Siemian, and co? I mean, that would be incredible. Ryan, have a great night. Love your show. And as always, JETS, Jets.
Connor! You've been ejected from the comment. All right. I thought I saw another comment pop up over here. Nope, we're good. Okay. I got Nick T coming on the show. Nick T's got himself a channel as well. Nick, how you doing, brother?
Oh, what is up, Ryan?
Hang in.
Connor's a tough act to follow, man. That kid's good. He knows his stuff. I mean, if there's one critique I will say, if Ashanu is the highest graded pass blocking tackle, he's not moving to guard.
No, well,
there's no way.
I would be very surprised to see Olu move to guard. That just seems surprising to me. And I would be stunned if the Jets did not take him if he was there at 10.
Yeah. Oh, he looks great. He reminds me of DeBrickashaw. He really does. I just think his fluidity, the way he moves, he blocks really well for what he does. He holds up. He's athletic. I like him a lot. Him or all, you can't go wrong with either of them.
Yeah, I'm excited to see the combine and see how everyone tests. I think what I find more interesting is the interview process and see how guys handle stuff. And then obviously all the rumors and everything like that. But yeah, I'd be hard pressed to pass on one of the top two left tackles.
So you'll get a kick out of this. So my wife and I you mentioned it, appreciate it. We have a podcast talking about pro wrestling, and she's a football fan, not necessarily a Jet fan at all. And she's like, what's it like being a Jet fan? You don't want to know.
Oh no, she's a Patriot fan, isn't she? Oh, God, can you divorce her still? Is it like the ink dry?
I used a couple of lines on her, telling her that she's too beautiful to be. I told her she's too beautiful to be a Patriots fan, so it worked out
Oh,
pretty.
you're a good man. You're a good man.
But she's like, "What's it like being a Jet fan?" And I said, tonight, as I'm watching some Raw here, CM Punk comes out, his first match in 10 years in WWE. He tears his labrum.
Oh,
and I
no. Said, that's how it feels like
welcome,
to be a Jet fan.
Welcome to life being a Jets fan. That's the best the best reason I could ever describe. But more focused on the team here. So I think I really like the idea of trading for Terry McLaurin.
I've heard people talk about this. This is a little more of a hidden gem that might be an option. I like McLaurin a lot.
They're rebuilding, right? They're ahead of us. They're going to take a quarterback. And how many rookie quarterbacks come in with an established veteran wide receiver? Like, the last I can remember is Andrew Luck with T.Y. Hilton, maybe. But most cases, they're not lasting through, definitely not through the tenure of the quarterback. So you might as well get rid of the receiver and get what you can. The question to me is he worth a third? I mean, he's probably worth at least a third back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons.
So I would trade a third for McLaurin. I think he's really good. I would say our third round pick or even a conditional second round pick is on the table for me to make a move for a wide receiver, whether it be Sutton, whether it be McLaurin, whether maybe a DK or something like that is possibly available. There's a few other potential people I could go with. Antonio says, don't divorce her. The next 10 years of Patriots football is going to suck. WM says, don't divorce her, man. Just take out a life insurance policy and plan your move.
Opposites attract. That's all I'll say. Opposites attract, right?
Nick, I love you, brother. You've been ejected from the cockpit. All right, let's go over to Jake. How you doing, brother?
Hey, man. How's everything going?
Hanging in there. I'm getting ready for Senior Bowl week and trying to take a look at all those prospects. I think there's going to be some late round gems that we can get from our work at the Senior Bowl.
Yeah, I'm going to be in Vegas actually next Friday, so I'm excited.
That's cool. That's awesome. So are you going to go down to like the row or anything where everyone's doing like all
my patient's actually doing a bunch of stuff on Radio Row. He knows Troy Vincent, like Troy Vincent playing the NFL. He's very close with him, so he's doing a couple podcasts with him. And then I think he's going to meet up with me and my family for something maybe I don't know, maybe a club or something. We're trying to figure all that out right now. But
that's fun.
Super Bowl weekend is in Vegas. Oh, this is going to be so amazing. Honestly, it's going to be so good.
Now, where are you standing on what the current state of the Jets are? Are you getting any new feelings as far as what we should do in free agency or the draft or anything like that? What's on your mind?
Get offensive line. Just get a lot of offensive line. Get a lot of offensive line. And just get Rodgers week one. I'm going to be very honest with you, Ryan. This offseason, I'm not going to be as talkative probably as prior years. I think
that's fair. I think a lot of Jet fans are going to feel the same way.
I just feel like I'm taking a step back because it's to the point now where, and I think I read something today, like Sauce even said there was just so much hype last year. I think as fans, we need to kind of take a step back and say, look, let's get our house in order first. We really embarrassed ourselves to such a high extent this past year. And we need to do the right thing to give Rodgers all the protection he needs. Think about maybe what the situation is for backup quarterback, get a receiver, and just get Rodgers on the field week one. I think this year to start talking about all the, the one Jets drive stuff and this quote, it's like I'm kind of over that now. Like I'm getting older. It's like I want to see wins. Like you're watching Patty, who, by the way, if Jet fans want to feel better, if he wins a third Super Bowl, we can actually sit here and start talking about the Patriots. Hey, is Brady the best of all time? It's like that. If you want one little silver lining, it's something to think about. I'm just saying. For sure.
And you can also argue that his first 3 Super Bowls are more on Patrick Mahomes than Brady's first 3 Super Bowls were. Those first 3 Super Bowls were heavily defensive skewed.
And Vinatieri.
Yeah, and Vinatieri too. And a snow game.
Vinatieri.
Tuck rule.
Yeah.
Started a dynasty.
So I just, I've heard of a lot of things about, maybe Calvin Ridley, Mike Evans, T. Higgins, all these guys. It's just, look, I just want protection. I just do not want to watch this offensive line, which is going to be in a complete transition this offseason. and look like complete garbage, and we're losing Rodgers week 3 or 4. Because listen, Saul and JD, this is not going. The honeymoon's over. It's time to start winning.
For sure. Before I eject you, is there an offensive lineman in free agency that you're looking for? Or you think we got to solve this primarily through the draft?
I mean, who are the top free agent options again at tackle or guard?
At tackle, it's going to be probably. I think on Pro Football Focus, the top ranked one is a Tyron Smith. Bakhtiari's probably going to get cut. You've got Jonah Williams. You've got Trent Brown, Mike Onwenu. There's the Illuminor from the Raiders, who's an interesting option, but he hasn't really had a long. The tackle group for free agency, not very good. Not fun to write home about.
This is bad.
This is a bad year to need tackle.
Tyron Smith's a shell of himself. His career is pretty much at the end at this point. Jonah Williams has just been injured. He's like Lyle Collins. It's the same thing when he was on Cincinnati. He's on and off.
No, when I looked, I thought Jonah Williams was pretty healthy the last 3-4 years. It was his rookie year that he got knocked out, and then I think the following year for maybe 5 games or so. So I don't know if the injury bug necessarily followed him, but the skill level and the production necessarily has not been where you'd want it to be.
What do you think happened to Lyle Collins? Do you think he's just washed? Like he's just completely washed?
Yeah, I don't know. I was really bummed that we didn't bring him in. He did end up on a team, didn't he, somewhere this past year?
No. Never got picked up. Nowhere.
Really?
Nowhere.
He was a top 10 pick, and then all the stuff went down with the girlfriend who drowned in a pool, and they couldn't eliminate him from the suspect pool, so he wound up going undrafted, and then obviously signs with the Cowboys.
I mean, he never got indicted or anything. He just
no. After I think it was even before the season, they said oh no, you're fine, you're in the clear. We just couldn't prove it during the time of the draft, which is why his draft stock plummeted. And he said at the time, if you draft me, I'll sit out and wait a year. So he wanted to choose where he was going to go as opposed to getting picked late and having to go somewhere.
I think every Jet fan wants to know this. What the Roger Saffold thing? What happened?
Dude,
what happened?
I don't think he's even a real person. I'm pretty sure they could have signed me to be Roger Saffold. I would take his $300,000 for the year, and then I'd be like, okay, I'll make Jet content for a bunch of years. Right now.
Yeah, no, I remember I remember watching on Jake Asman's show. He legitimately is just we signed it. I've never seen him scream about it. Players we signed him in Halloween and he's still not ready to play 7 weeks later. What was the point of this? Was this kind of the same thing with Trevor Siemian, where basically they were listen, well, we let the fans say we choose somebody, but we're actually not going to really use him. So it's kind of it was all placating to the fans. That's my theory about it.
I completely agree. I completely agree with you because it was the same thing they did with what the hell was his name? The running back from Jacksonville last year, Robinson. They said James Robinson. Breece Hall goes down. Oh, the Jets are going to pack it in. No, we got to make a move. It's a move for the fans, a move for the locker room. It's a morale type thing. All right, here comes James Robinson. And it was the hey, we're going for it to at least give a little bit of juice behind it. And I honestly, for the pick we gave up, I'm fine with that. I think it's a worthwhile thing to do. Trevor Siemian, I agree that's probably what ultimately ended up happening. We got to bring in competition, whatever, play.
It wasn't. But it wasn't.
It was not. It was not competition. He was never activated. It was Zach had the longest leash in the world. And then I agree with Saffold. It was man, our offensive line is so bad. We just got to get someone in here. Here's a former, I don't know, I'm pretty sure he's been an all-pro. But we get this guy in here. It's going to be great. He was with our offensive line coach and whatnot. Never saw the dude. Never even saw an interview with him. Crazy.
No.
Jake.
No.
Thank you so much. You have been. Whoops. Turn off my lights.
You're out of here.
That's what happens when I'm looking at the screen and not looking down at the little button pressy thing. Let's see. RJ McPott comes in, says, poor guy. Oh, this is funny. So I'll get to Joe and Alan in just a second. Poor guy that has the Patriots fan as a wife. He's definitely getting cheated on. Do I have my little... Oh, I see what you did there. Because the Patriots cheat on everything. Oh, that's a good one. Joe, how you doing, brother?
Hey, what's up, Ryan?
Hanging in there. How you feeling tonight?
I tell you, man, I'm just curious to see what the Jets are going to do this offseason. Excuse me. I am looking forward to the combines because I want to see how these offensive linemen do.
Oh man,
You know?
the offensive line class is so studly, and I'm excited to see that like a lot of the good ones are ending up at the Senior Bowl. So Olbert's going to have a little bit of intel. Like maybe he comes back to One Jets Drive and he says, "There's like 3 or 4 guys that I would say are like the bee's knees," and then maybe Douglas starts feeling like, "All right, let's get a little crafty here. Let's get a receiver and an offensive lineman by trading down." I don't know. We don't usually see the trade down.
I don't know. Last year we picked Max Mitchell out of the Senior Bowl. You know, he's
2 years ago,
been okay.
we took
You
Jermaine
know?
Johnson. We took Jeremy Ruckert.
Yeah.
Last year, did we take anyone last year? Titman wasn't there. I don't think
Nope.
McDonald was a junior.
No, he wasn't there.
He wasn't there. I don't know if we took anyone from the Senior Bowl last year. I have to go back.
I'm doing Mitchell.
Mitchell was 2 years ago.
Oh, 2 years ago. That's right. Oh, I'm sorry.
That's all right.
Boy,
You're
time
forgiven.
goes by fast.
I felt like I just recently cried about my Jets season. Why do I have this deja vu feeling coming on?
Well, anyway, I'm looking at Fuega, I guess, for the combine. For free agency, Tyrone Smith, I mean, he's a Hall of Famer, but he's near the end. You know, your caller, the last one, was absolutely right. When are you going to get another Dwayne Brown? You know what I mean?
But that's just it. Like, if you can tell me that Tyron Smith has a year, 2 years left, I'd do that. I'm fine with signing a tackle for a year if you can get one semi-productive. Like, if you can give me top 20 tackle for a year, I'd probably consider signing him.
As a starter?
If I'm getting top 20 tackle, absolutely. There's 40 starting tackles. Give me half.
Yeah, I mean, he is a top 20 tackle. There's no doubt about it.
It's the health
I
thing
just
for
thought
me that's
maybe-
a bigger concern.
Yeah, he would never sit the bench anyway, so he would retire before that ever happens.
I would be surprised if he ended up leaving like Dallas at this point. I think he's going to end his career there.
I do too. I don't think he's going to sign with anybody. I mean, that would be if they still want him, of course. You know, so. But anyway, I think one thing I'm really curious about more than anything.
Sure.
What are they going to do with Zach Wilson?
Oh, his ass is getting traded. I'm going to say the
I think
Vikings.
so.
Yeah, I feel like the Vikings are a good spot for him. I could see Denver in some capacity. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see because, like, where does he want to go? Who wants to give up a pick? Are they going to eat some of his salary? Because the salary is really the big part. For me, if I'm being honest, if no team is willing to pick up his salary and no team is willing to give up, like, any kind of reasonable draft pick, like a 6 or I don't even know if I think there is a world in my mind where I would be all right with Zach competing for quarterback too. But like, the way the relationship was this past year, I think they decided they were going to trade him in Jacksonville or during the Jacksonville game in 2022. I think this has been a predetermined thing. Like even with the Rodgers signing, it was like, hey, you're going to say you're going for 1 year because we're developing Zach Wilson, but you're really going to commit to more years than that because we're giving up 2 second-round picks at least. You know, you got to do a little bit more for us. And he's like, oh, don't worry. We're going to try and screw the Packers, and we're going to get the best value for Zach possible because we're committing to Rodgers, not giving up on Zach. I think that was the plan.
I'll tell you one thing. If we don't do good next year, I think Sauce Gardner and Garrett Wilson ain't going to be a Jet in the near future.
I think Sauce and Jermaine have better shots at being Jets long-term than either Brees or Garrett. And if it goes to shit next year, I think Brees is probably staying on this team for a bit because we'll use the franchise tag for a year or two. But then I think Garrett would be used as a trade bait to get more resources back for the next regime. Yeah,
I agree.
I hope it's not the case. I want Garrett here long-term. I think he's been a stud and just like the perfect wide receiver personality.
I think the Jets are going to get their act together next year. There's really no choice because they're going to lose a lot of people in the fan
if we
base
lose our
if they don't
4
get their
studs,
fucking act together.
100%. Joe, been ejected. If we lose our young studs because of our offense being incompetent, I'm going to cry and bitch and moan so much. I'm going to be so pissed off if we lose some of these good guys. Alan, what's up, dude?
Evening, Ryan. What's going on? How are you?
I'm hanging
Comments to 2 of your callers. Please tell Lima Bean to watch Kyle Hamilton and don't ever,
dude, he had such last game was beautiful. He had 3 plays in a row that were like just lockdown.
And please don't compare him to Jamal Adams. That's just blasphemy right there.
That's a slap in the face to Hamilton.
Okay. And to Nick, Scary Terry's not getting traded. Okay, Ben Johnson is getting that job. He's going to take one of the quarterbacks, and Scary Terry's going to be their number one. That's enough. Couple of comments.
I want to see what Terry's contract is. Terry McLaurin. So yeah, I would be surprised because even if he's moved, it's going to cost them an additional 2. This makes no sense to me.
They're not trading him. Backup quarterback. I know a lot of people have been talking about Jacoby Brissett. I think the perfect landing spot for him is New England, especially if they take a quarterback he can start and maybe groom Jaden Daniels to be there. I have a feeling that we're gonna take Tannehill. He'll be our backup. And honestly, with this regime, I don't think we're drafting a quarterback. I really don't. I think this regime is so
one in the middle
set.
rounds?
I do not. I think this regime is so set on 2024 that they really don't care about the future, really, unless they trade a future pick. As far as the draft is concerned, pick 10, I think it's imperative for us to get a tackle. I know a lot of people are talking about getting one of the receivers or getting a Bowers. You watched Detroit's offensive line yesterday, and you watch our offensive line. It's like we're a junior high school team compared to their offensive line. Okay?
Baltimore barely gave up any pressure. Like Lamar had all day to throw. He just couldn't make the throws.
I mean, Lamar was horrible yesterday in the pocket. Absolutely horrible. And I'll tell you one thing. One of the 2 tackles, whether it's Alt or Fasciano, has to be a Jet. So if one of them is available at 8, maybe we could trade up with Atlanta, maybe give up a future 3 to get that. I think in the third round,
if someone makes it to 8, I think they're going to make it to 10.
You know what? Honestly, I know people have been talking about the Raiders getting a quarterback. I think the Raiders are in dire need for a right tackle. I think Colton Miller plays the left side. I think they need a right tackle, so I can see them actually jumping us to go get one of the tackles. I also can see a team like New Orleans jumping us to get one of the tackles. So in my opinion, if one of those 2 tackles are available at 8, you go and grab them. You trade up. Third round, I think we go get a guard. I know people have been talking about paying maybe $5 to $7 million for a DJ Chark or a Curtis Samuel wide receiver 3. Why can't we be one of the teams that takes a wide receiver in round 4, unlike a team like Buffalo with Shakir and St. Brown in Detroit and Nakua and the Rams? We can get our wide receiver 3 there in round 4. We don't need to pay $7 to $10 million for a third wide receiver. It's ridiculous.
So I like Brendan Rice. I like Tez Walker. I like there's a few guys.
Malachi Corley I like over there. I like Amari Thrash. And finally, I'm a huge Iowa fan, as you know. His name is Luke Lachey. That's going to be the second round pick next year. Okay, Luke Lachey will be the next Sam Laporta. Mark my words. And again, we groom tight ends. We don't groom quarterbacks. Okay, every tight end, that's why Kittle went in the 5th round. That's why Kittle went in the 5th round. We had no quarterback. He dropped in the 5th round. And I wrote earlier, remember, Kittle got pick 146, and the Jets took Jordan Leggett pick 150. Okay, that was the difference. And Sam Laporta is an absolute superstar. Okay,
dude,
he is a stud. But keep up the good work.
Alan, I love you. And you were saying goodbye, and I'm sorry that I did that now. You've been ejected from the cockpit. I was trying to be all sorts of like whack. And then he gets all like, thank you so much. And I screwed up. I ejected him too soon. That's all right. All right. We got Tom joining the show. Tom, how you doing, brother?
How you doing?
Hanging in.
I've called in many times before. I really think that there's a flux to NFL teams that the average fan, most fans don't really appreciate. And I think we're just, obviously you watch any game and you see how these teams play. You see how the previous caller mentioned offensive line. I mean, the Eagles offensive line, the Chiefs, teams that build around offensive lines do well. I mean, it's pretty obvious. But so my point is, my overall point here, I'm trying to avoid all these tangents. The offensive line, yeah, I could go on like 1,000 tangents about this topic, but and like I hate Zach Wilson. I just got to say it again. I'm so glad it's over. Um, I've debated this. I'm on Twitter, like going back like 2 years, just trolling him so hard. It's so fun to just troll Zach Wilson because he's so bad.
He's been
I
bad.
suggested on your show a long time ago, and you hated the idea that there was a powwow between Woody and his uncle Jets. That
Yeah, the JetBlue guy.
I'm not going to say it, but
Sure.
yeah, like, but my point is like I really trust these guys like that. Like, I mean, like compare our front office with anyone else in the league. I really trust these guys, and that's my point calling in. Like I just really trust Douglas. I mean, who else? Who else in the history of the NFL? I'm completely ignorant on this, but like who else has put up a offensive and defensive rookie of the year in the same year? Like
The Texans.
we have
It
some
happened this year.
Oh, really?
Like,
Yeah, I don't even know.
It seems like it's going to, I think. I don't know. Did they have the honors yet? I don't know if they did. They were talking about how CJ Stroud's going to get offensive rookie of the year and Will Anderson's going to get defensive rookie of the year.
And I love the CJ Stroud story. I didn't know about the defensive or offensive rookie of the year. But
Dude, they
yeah,
wanted
that's
to take
really
Bryce
cool.
Young. They got lucky him falling to number 2.
Man, he is so good. His story. I mean, I don't. The previous callers talking about wide receivers. Why don't we look for these wide receivers that have that kind of story as CJ Stroud? Like, why don't we look for people who are mentally strong? You know what I mean? Like, you have to be in the
Sure,
NFL.
Tom. Or maybe he has pants on. Or something. Tom's calling. He's got like he got one leg all the way out. Just like I'm waiting to see a ball or something pop through. Tom, thank you for the call. Much appreciated. You look like you were in witness protection program. that was a little wild call, but I enjoy it. Why not? Who cares? All right, Lima Bean, how you doing, dude?
Oh, I had to come back. I wasn't planning to do a second round, but clearly I have to make a nuanced approach.
Oh
here.
man, I as soon as
All
I
right,
saw
listen.
your call pop up when Elon was talking,
Listen,
I was like,
I'm not here to attack Allen and thing. Like, we all have Jets. It's barbershop talk. We're all fans of the same team. I mean, he's already been in Jake Asman's shadow realm so many times. I don't need to do any more. So I mean, like, it's more like, listen, two things can be true. Kyle Hamilton can be awesome and great at what he does, but wasn't the right fit for us at a rebuild at that time. Everyone was saying he was a ball
That's
hawk
fair.
safety, like whatchamacallit, like Ed Reed. That was the big take. All I'm saying is he wasn't a ball hawk. He was a strong safety, and as much as he is awesome at doing what he did, I I don't think he was worth a top 5 pick for us at that time because of where we were at the rebuild. Because
I
it
think
just
most
the
people would
timeline
have
would
said
match
10
up.
at that point. And I think a lot of people were probably not thrilled
Like
at
there
10.
was a reason why he dropped to like 15. I think he went to like lower than 10. Like
I think he went 14, I'm pretty sure. I
Yeah,
was
like
saying we
something
have the
around that.
our second first round pick was 10. That's why I was saying that's where I think they might go.
So that's pretty much my only differentiation. Like it's just not like that's why CJ Mosley at his prime was let go by the Ravens. As great as he was, and he was an all pro, for them, they're not gonna pay strong tacklers who make great plays. They would
I
pay
think he wasn't so I'm not going to speak for Alan, but I'm pretty sure Alan was saying is the evaluation on Hamilton is correct. It's just not one that the Jets should have made at that point in time. I think that's probably
Yeah, that's
fair
that's. I
argument.
mean, listen, it just wasn't. I would prefer Sauce or Garrett Wilson over Kyle Hamilton. He just made more sense for us, and that's why I went against Green Bean's like take on a safety because we did this before, and yeah, he's much better than Jamal Adams. I did say he's a much way better version of him, but like that being said, it's just that's my take on Kyle Hammond. He's good, but like, will he be long term for the Ravens? Will they let him go? Will they franchise him? Those are big questions you got to ask a team. And like I said, who would you rather have? Someone covering Travis Kelsey to stop the yards, or the guy making the tackles? Yeah, that's good, but then Mahomes gets up and makes another first down play. Like you gotta. It's about positional value. That's what I'm trying to say. Positional value.
So I am like
So
92% sure that the 3 plays Hamilton made caused a 3 and out. Like almost positive that it was 3 plays in a
True,
row.
but he
like,
also couldn't stop Travis Kelce, and that's not to say Hamilton's bad, but Travis Kelce like did break Jerry Rice's record this game. So like, it's like, what position would you rather have being, like, I forgot who was the one who caused the fumble against Lamar, the pass rusher. It's like it's all positional value.
Karlaftis.
For me. Yeah, it's all positional value. Like, what is more
Sure.
valuable to our team at that time? And I just did not want a strong safety. It was just that simple. And that being said, is just, yeah, that's what I have to say.
Boom, Lima Bean.
That's it.
Got some
You're
good thoughts.
outta here.
You've been ejected from the cockpit. Let's go over to a Zach Wilson truther. How you doing, brother?
What's up, Brian? How you doing?
Hanging in there. Talk to me. How you feeling tonight?
I'm feeling all right. One thing that kind of blows my mind, of all things, I never would have guessed that Belichick still wouldn't be hired at this point. Does that surprise you?
It does, and maybe a little less so. I thought Atlanta was his job to lose. And
Yeah.
part of me thinks like, okay, did he want to sit out a year, build his coaching staff, pick his, pick of the litter maybe next year? Or was he actually passed over and people didn't want him? Because I could see a defensive-minded head coach who's kind of beyond his time getting passed on. Everyone's going offense now. Although, oddly enough, they took a defensive guy.
Yeah. So one thing is, I think age has got to be a factor, right? So that's part of it. But, I was talking to some of my friends. Apparently, the Falcons called him back for a second interview. And my thought is, what do they want to talk about, the rings again? Like, what are they talking about? And the only thing that made sense to me was they must have been like, hey, man, you want total control of the GM stuff? Are you serious? And then he's like, yeah. And they're like, okay, we're going to go with somebody else. I don't know. That was my read on it.
Yeah, it got the feeling to me that if he wanted to concede some stuff, he would have had Atlanta. I mean, Pioli's there, so it just sort of aligned like it was going to make sense. I don't know if he gets a head coaching job now, and I love it because it means the win we had against him at the final game of the season is just that much sweeter, especially if he's not going to be able to break the record.
It makes me think, though, so when he described what he's looking for in a team, I kind of laughed because he was like, I'm looking for a team that has underachieved relative to its talent level. And I was like, oh my God, like,
I think there's a non-0% chance he's our coach next year. I would hate that. Not 2024, 2025 is what I'm saying. I hope that's not the case. And I hope he hates us enough that that's not going to happen. But
it
crossed the mind.
But yeah, it was funny because he's exactly describing that. One other thing, your tight end theory, I really like that idea. So I've gone back and forth between only pick premium positions and then also pick people who you'd want to tag. I was looking at the tag values here online, and when you look at how different they are based on position, I mean, on the one hand, a lot of teams are like, don't draft a running back because, whatever. I think in fairness, you can find late round running backs that are good, but you
can go running back in the first round and have like that 5th-year option, which is kind of nice. And then you use the tag after. Like we tried to get Brees, we tried to trade back into the first to have that leverage on him. We're going to lose that now. Not lose it, but we're not going to have that 5th-year option. We're going to have to tag him twice probably, unless we want to sign him to a deal after next year.
Yeah, which maybe we don't. I don't know. I mean, I love Brees, but the financials of it are weird.
It is. It's funky. I don't want to see him go anywhere, but I think there's definitely a possibility of like us just riding him out to the tag and then letting him walk or trade him or something. I mean, ideally, his window of great play should fall into what we hope Rodgers to be here for. I mean, ideally, I'm hoping at least 2 more years from Rodgers. I mean, after that would be bonus at that point.
Yeah. One other thing, just with the tight ends. Their tag value is so much cheaper than wide receiver, but their impact can be really similar. And so I think that's something to consider when you think about a Brock Bowers, right? Like if you get a Malik Neighbors or somebody who's a really good player, I mean, I think Harrison's out of the discussion, right? But you're talking about like this could be a guy who has a similar impact, but is way different in terms of what you have to give up later down the road to keep him.
So one thing that I've been advocating for, and it's not something that the NFL is ever going to hear because they don't watch Jets Talk 24/7, but I've been saying that the franchise tag for running backs, for wide receivers, and for tight ends should all be the same. So that way it would drop the price of the wide receiver franchise tag. It would significantly increase the running back franchise tag. So that way you have to decide, okay, we are paying an elite premium on the best running back. Do we actually want to do that? Or do we want to give him a contract that makes a little more sense? So it would help the running backs out. It would hurt the receivers to some degree. I think it would probably help the tight ends. I don't know exactly what the tight end tag is. I'm imagining it's probably somewhere around 15. Is that right?
So I'm looking at it right here. This is just Googled, but it's like 11.345. So
wow, that's low. That is real.
It's
I'm
really
gonna pull
low.
up. Let me see real
This
quick.
is just like first result on Google, but wide receivers 19.7,
12.
tight end
So
11.3.
12.3 over the cap is tight end tag. So yeah,
For
the
2024?
lowest tags, highest tag, quarterback 35.9, defensive end 23.3, linebacker 21.9, offensive lineman. So that's why the AVT draft pick is so not necessarily bad, but like is tough.
It's why tackles are so valued in the draft because
exactly because centers and guards are going to get paid the same as top tackles with the franchise tag. So that's 21.7, wide receiver 21.6, defensive tackle 19.7, cornerback 18.4, safety 17.2. That's surprising it's that high. Honestly.
That's wild.
Yeah, running back is 12.4, tight end 12.3, and then special teams is 5.8.
And that, I mean, that right there, you just look at how wildly off the mark a lot of those are. Like center and guard are ridiculous. I think that should shape drafting for a while.
I think so too. Zach Wilson, truther, you've been ejected from the cockpit. It looks like we've got a rebuttal to Mr. Lima Bean. Hello.
I have to call back, man. I usually don't do this. Okay. 2 comments. First, with the Asman comment, I don't celebrate bullshit December wins over the Commanders or the Patriots.
Dude,
And
I was very much. Oh, sorry. I'll let you go.
90% of his fan base are like, "Oh my God, we beat the Patriots! Let's celebrate!" You finished 7-10. Shut the fuck up, okay? Please, enough, okay? That's where I had a problem with Asman because I think Asman's show's really good, but his fan base went crazy because we beat the Commanders and the Patriots, which cost us 5 slots.
Dude,
so
it cost us like 2 first-round picks falling from 2 to 10. Like, I was pissed. You saw my heat steam coming out the ears when we beat the Commanders.
You were 100% right. So that's why I'm in his shadow realm. So he can kiss my ass for that. Secondly, I had a problem when he compared Kyle Hamilton to Jamal Adams. And he did. He made that comment.
He said it. I heard
so
him.
He can kiss my ass on that one.
We're talking about
well.
Lima Bean, not Jake, by the way.
Yeah, no, Jake, who gives a shit, okay? Lima Bean compared Jamal Adams to Kyle Hamilton. Are you kidding me?
Comparing the draft.
No,
again, I can't compare it to Lima Bean, but I'm saying drafting one in the top part of the draft.
Jamal Adams. He said it's like taking Jamal
draft
Adams.
Status. Jamal at 6 versus taking a Kyle Hamilton at 6. I would take. I don't want to take a safety in the top 10 either way, but I think Hamilton's a significantly better safety than what Jamal was.
And you also said Hamilton is not a game changer, which is wrong. Hamilton is a game changer. Hamilton is a game changer. Hamilton single-handedly almost won the game yesterday for the Ravens. He was brilliant yesterday. And you watched him all year. The guy makes plays every week. So, please.
He was an all-pro for a reason.
If you're going to make a stupid comment, back it up with some facts, Lima Bean, okay? And I'm glad to be in Asman's shadow realm. I don't celebrate bullshit wins. Okay, Lima Bean, kiss my ass. Goodbye.
Ooh. A little bit of heat coming in here. Jeez. Cool it down. Stop the call-ins for a second. Let's go to the chat. Oh, well, we got another one that wasn't Lima Bean. So let's do this. Let's go over to Mike. Mike, how you doing, dude?
Hey, boss. A couple of things. I think Jet fans need to stop falling in love with certain players in the draft because weird things are going to happen. So if you want Brock Bowers, you fall in love with him, don't do it. You fall in love with Pushanu, just stop. Have no attachments because we have no idea what's going to happen. Dude. Sorry,
dude. People fall for it all the time. It's like, man, I fell for Sauce. Sauce was my guy at 4, but outside of that, I'm trying to be as objective as possible. My analysis has been wrong in the past.
I did the same thing with Judy, and he hasn't been that good either that one year. But then that was the book. But the one thing I'm going to do is for 2 minutes before I call back in, Joe Douglas. I'm going to defend him for the first time on the show's history. So when he drafted with the Will McDonald pick. The reason he didn't have a first-round grade on any of those receivers is because the majority of them were slot receivers. And his whole draft time, the last 4 years, they've all been injury-prone first-round picks. So I think the reason he didn't grade JSN as a first-round talent was because of the injuries. Because he drafted another guy who was consistently hurt, we would be terrorizing him, especially one who actually had injury concerns. And JSN ended up actually being injured. So, I mean, like, I understand everyone wanted us to take a receiver in last year's draft, but I can kind of see why.
Anton Harrison would have been a really good pick, but that would have been a reach.
Yeah, and then you had Cole, and then and before that draft, you also still had Corey Davis. So I kind of understand the meaning of them being like, hey, we don't think one of these receivers is that good. The best one, not happy with his injury history because he's been injured his whole career. So we'd rather take a position where we might have need next year. So I kind of understand that to defend him a little bit there. Not saying that Will McDonald was the right pick, but I can see why they went that direction. And there was no lineman there on.
I think they went that direction because they had made their decision on Bryce Huff. And that's a big flaw in the analysis, I think, is just not knowing what you had when you had it. And you double down, you screwed yourself. Like, I'm not saying that Will McDonald's going to be a bad player. I just think I would have loved to have either traded down or, reached on an Anton Harrison, heck, even reached on a Laporta or something like that, which would be a whole round earlier. Like, any of those guys would have helped us more than anything Will McDonald provided this year.
I do think with this year's draft, the Jets need to pray that McDaniels falls to 10. You trade back, and then you take next year's picks and trade back into the first. If we walked away with Mims and say Coleman, that nobody would be complaining about those two picks if we fell and got those two guys. I understand we all want
Jaden Daniels falls.
If some team falls in love with him, we just jump right back. Just take the best offer we can. Get a second-round pick. This draft is deep for a couple guys that are going to slip. You want as many picks as you can get in the second, third round. Of course, we only have one, so you have to make moves.
But if you like the trade down option. I like the trade. I like a lot of receivers and a lot of tackles in this class. A lot.
Trade down and trade up. If Mims is going to drop to the 20 range, that's good value there. If you can fall back and get him, and you take next year's picks, we're in a win now mode. Sacrifice it, move up again, and make some plays.
Ooh, interesting, Mike. Thank you so much. You've been ejected from the cockpit. I've got someone waiting behind the scenes, but I want to get to a super chat first. Patrick Mahomey comes in and says, even though I owned the Ravens, I thought of comparing the Mr. The Gift That Keeps On Giving to All-Pro Kyle Disrespect and Blasphemous. Shake my head. To All-Pro Kyle... Patrick, I'm not sure I understand. I'm not... I thought this was going to be a Kelsey comment, and then I thought it was a Kyle Hamilton comment, and now I'm not entirely sure what kind of comment it is. So it's flying over my head. So if you guys can help me out in the chat, it would be greatly appreciated. But thank you so much for the super chat. Greatly appreciated. Hi.
I didn't expect to be doing this on a freaking Monday. Originally my call was supposed to be how I felt about the Detroit Lions and how they reminded me of the 2009 Jets and how bad I felt for them. Next thing you know, I'm arguing with Alan from the Shadow Realm, and it's just going...
I'm not picking up either of your fucking phone calls on the next one. So, Alan, you don't call in. Lima Bean, you're done after this. This is your last.
I just don't understand where the nuance is lacking. It's like, can't Kyle Hamilton be a great player but not a good fit for us? Like, fine, maybe.
See, that's what I was trying to tell him. You heard me defend you, right? Like I definitely said.
Like for example, this year in the draft, we need O-line, right? Mm-hmm. What if Kyle Hamilton was in the draft? Would you take Kyle Hamilton or a great O-line member? That's the question I'm asking. That's what I've asked. When Kyle Hamilton was in the draft, he wasn't the player for us.
But I think to Alan's point, you were saying that Kyle Hamilton wasn't a difference maker like an Ed Reed, which I would agree he's not at an Ed Reed level. But he's not pretty sure he got all pro this year.
Listen. I'm just saying he's not Ed Reed. Doesn't mean that he's not very good. Doesn't mean that he doesn't have excellence to him. And I think we're lacking this nuance. Like, we're all Jets fans here, frustrated about this year. Like, I'm not here to ban him like Jake Asman and like. I think the reason why he's pissed.
Boom, Lima Bean. My show. I'm gonna eject who I want, when I want, how I want. I don't think either of you guys are wrong. I get what Alan was saying because I agree with Alan. I think Alan's right in terms of Kyle Hamilton as an impact safety, and he played lights out yesterday. I am with Lima Bean on that the Jets shouldn't have taken him, and I would think Alan would probably fall in that same mindset as well. I think he would agree the New York Jets should not have taken Kyle Hamilton at number 10 overall over Garrett Wilson. So boom, I'm glad we settled that. That was, oh man, I enjoyed that little run there. I'm going to go back through the chat. Let's listen to some of what you guys have to say in there. Let's see if I have any questions. If you guys have a question, put a little Q and then the colon, and then I can actually see it as I scroll through stuff. Because I don't know if you guys are talking to yourselves or if you guys are trying to get my attention. Congrats to Sam Darnold for being the first 2018 first-round quarterback to make it to a Super Bowl. Yeah, Josh Allen, suck a bag of eggs. Loser. Ace of Spades says, I think Harbaugh is going to grab Bowers. I agree. I think Bowers gets taken at number 5. I think that's where it ultimately ends up shaking out. Patrick Mahomes says, stupid autocorrect. I said I thought of comparing all-pro Kyle Hamilton to Jamal Adams is straight up disrespectful to Kyle Hamilton. It's cringe. Yeah, I agree. I would say, but let me defend Lima Bean because we are misconstruing what I think he was trying to say. And what he was trying to say was that safety early on is not necessarily always a great pick. He's comparing the selection of Jamal Adams at number 6 to possibly pulling the trigger on a Kyle Hamilton at number 10 when there were bigger needs for both of those teams at those points in time. The Jamal thing, I firmly believe he was drafted because of his quote-unquote leadership. That was on full display that everyone that I've heard says that's complete horseshit and phony, not actually a leader, which I believe 110%. And Kyle Hamilton is 10 times the player that Jamal has been at all. So I agree. Lima Bean, you shouldn't have compared Kyle Hamilton to Jamal. But I think you were talking about draft status more so than actual caliber of player. So I'll give you that a little bit. Lupanati says, I'm sold. The Jets are drafting a right tackle in round 1 with a trade back. AVT to left tackle is the only way to guarantee you don't move him around since left tackle early could be gone by pick 10. So I don't want AVT as our left tackle. I don't particularly want him as our right tackle, but I think it could happen as the right tackle. I would like to keep AVT at one of the guard spots or at right tackle. I thought he was just okay at left tackle. I think he's great in a pinch if you need it, but not one that I'd want to overly rely on. I'm also concerned about AVT's Achilles. I'm deathly afraid that this guy's not going to come back in the same capacity that he was this past year. Or the last few years that we saw him. An Achilles for a big man is scary. I do not love it. I'll be honest. We've got Mike calling back in. Mike, how you doing, dude?
So I think Mekhi Becton's coming back, just to get on that.
Okay.
Fortunately. I think he's going to take a team-friendly deal where in 1 year, a couple mil, probably over 5, unfortunately, because Carter's still here. I don't know how he has a job. He's the one guy you see screw up and to continue to keep his job. So I'm not really happy about it. But when you look at Mekhi Becton, if you get him on a team-friendly deal, he knows the system. He works with Aaron Rodgers. It won't be good, but it saves you some money, and it kind of makes you have a little more flexibility with the other tackle spot. So
because he's got the flexibility of left tackle, right tackle, and you got to think at the very least he's going to look better with Rodgers.
You guys sit him down and say you're playing right tackle, though. You have to say, hey, listen, man, you're a mauler. You fit the scheme better at right tackle. If you really want to play left tackle, then it's not going to work for you. I think that's what they're going to do. If he doesn't want to play left tackle, if he doesn't want to play right tackle, they'll let him go because he sucks at left tackle. But he wants to play that right tackle spot. He's literally built for it. His right 300.
Tackle so real quick, let me see if I can pull it up.
I know they're bad. So the whole O-line was bad. And so
but his first 2 games was atrocious.
Yeah, again, Carter's a problem too there, but I can't.
So in his first, hold on, I'll find this real quick. In his first 2 games where he was right tackle this year for the Jets, Mekhi Becton had a total of 8 penalties in 2 games.
Yeah, I'm just defending the spot of him not. Sure. He was pricing for left tackle the whole offseason, everything, and then he gets thrown to right tackle due to injuries and everything. Well, I think if you give him a whole offseason, say this is where you're playing, stick with it, you might get something out of there. He's a terrible. I don't think he's a good tackle across the board, but if you get him for a cheap deal, it saves you a little bit of hunting and free agency. It gives you a little bit of flexibility there. And then you don't have to worry about it so much as moving AVT around because AVT gets hurt every time we move him to tackle. I know every Jet fan wants to tackle, but Jesus Christ, this guy literally has 2 season-ending injuries in a row at tackle. Let's just sit the all-pro guard at guard and let him play guard. And let's get rid of Lincoln Tomlinson and save some money because that guy was a terrible. I don't know how he didn't work out. He was supposed to, but he was one of the few guys where I thought it was a great signing, and he just failed. So
I agree. He turned into a pumpkin.
It was bad. Joe Douglas needs to find another Morgan Moses. That's the type of deal that we need to get from him. He needs to find a good tackle who can just plug and play, who doesn't need to be elite, but just can like the same type of deal, but a little bit healthier. That's why, look at Moses, AFC Championship game. Like the guy held it down for Baltimore. So
Dude,
you kind of
Zeitler from Baltimore as well. Like I would go after Zeitler as a guard. I think what's interesting about the Mekhi stuff is if you bring him back and you say, okay, we've got at least left, right tackle. Like if you were looking at Trent Brown, I could see you saying, well, Mekhi Becton's already here and he's like might be the cheaper version of Trent Brown.
Yeah,
completely agree, and I'm okay with that. If you do that and you save the money there, your worst case scenario fallback is AVT kicking out to whatever position that Mekhi Becton is at, and then you're still drafting your tackle at 10, whether it be Olu Fashanu falling to 10 or Fuaga falling or going at 10.
Or a trade back where you end up with a guy like Mims, like I said before, or whoever. Yes. Like there's options there to have 3 caliber. I want to say starting caliber, but I don't think Mekhi Becton's really a starting caliber guy. He's more like a swing tackle upgrade, unfortunately. But there's value there. So I think you bring back for cheaper than going out and spending $50 million plus on a guy who's not much better, but you have to overpay because of the market. And then CJ Mosley needs to restructure, and JFM needs to go. And unfortunately, it's just because of contracts that we have and everything. But CJ, $20 million for a middle linebacker, I don't care how good he is, that's too much. I think
he's $17 million guaranteed, so he's got to restructure. If you want to keep him on the team for 2 years and make his salary over 2,
you can void year it, you can break it down that way, you can push the money back, that's okay. But you got to restructure and make money now for Rodgers. And JFM's going to go so they can re-sign Huff, I think is how it's going to end up going. I think they trade Huff for second, third. I think someone's going to bite there. Whoever gets you more value, Huff or JFM, they'll trade one of the two. They'll franchise tag Huff, but if they trade JFM first, they'll sign Huff a bigger deal, like a multi-year deal. But if they go into the draft when they have both those guys, Huff will be franchise tagged. Gotta be one or the other. But one will be gone, one will be here.
So the tag's got to happen before the draft. It happens, I think, a month before. It's when does the tag window open? It's March 5th is when the tag window's open, and then free agency starts the following week. It's gonna be interesting.
But I think that's what's gonna happen. I think they're gonna say we can get rid of one of them for value, so you might as well keep both of them and then find something. And then that's what they'll end up doing.
Interesting, Mike.
You're out of here.
I would like to see that. I'd like to see a way to keep Bryce Huff. And if you got to move JFM for it, I'm okay with that. All right. Let's go over to How About Them Jets. How about them Jets? How you doing, brother?
What's up, Ryan? Happy New Year, buddy.
Happy New Year to you as well.
Crazy night tonight. So I'm no expert, but I figure I'm just going to give you my opinion of what I think the Jets should do, because everyone so far is saying the same thing: O-line, tight end, wide receiver. I just feel like, we have Garrett Wilson. We have Alan Lazar, unfortunately. And I do feel like we need that big wide receiver to complement Garrett, which Alan Lazar is. So if Rodgers can fix him with Brownlee, Gibson, maybe we don't need to go and sign a free agent and spend, 15, 16 million. Who knows? But my thought process is, if we can sign an offensive tackle in free agent, 1 or 2, on the 10th pick, is it possible that we can draft a quarterback per se, Penix, JJ McCarty, whoever, and have that quarterback sit behind Rodgers for 2 years to learn? And if we can trade Bryce Huff and get a second-round pick, we can get another tackle, and a wide receiver probably like in the 3rd round, 4th round. Just throwing something else out there other than what everyone else is already preaching already. So just want to get
Bryce
your
Huff
thoughts on that.
getting traded for a second, I do really like that. You'd have to franchise tag him, but I think it's going to be a little tough to get someone to give up a 2nd-round pick if he's on the franchise tag. And I don't know if the Jets are going to commit that much salary cap space to him when they've invested so much on the offensive line. Like for me, I have a hard time seeing Huff back here next year. And then on the quarterback front, while I am on the same page as far as drafting a quarterback, I wouldn't do one in the first, definitely not the first 2 rounds. And I don't think Douglas and Salah are going to do that. I think their backs against the wall. And from a pure self-preservation standpoint, I think they're not going to go quarterback because that doesn't help them any this year. And if we got to rely on our backup quarterback, the truth is we're not winning a Super Bowl. It's not going to happen. There's a reason why the top 4 quarterbacks last night were Goff and Lamar Jackson and Patrick Mahomes and Brock Purdy. It was guys that played well all season. I don't think you're seeing the backups necessarily go there. But as far as going after, some free agent offensive linemen and not spending as much, I think you got to add some weapon, whether that you find that through the draft or through free agency or via trade. I don't feel comfortable rolling into next year with Lazard as wide receiver 2. If you want to make him wide receiver 3, I could kind of understand that because at least you're going to be relying on tight end and Brees and some other stuff before you get to him. But I don't want to rely on Lazard. He gives me some concern.
So would you trade back the 10 pick?
I do like trading down. I'm a big fan of trading down. I like J.C. Latham. I like Fuaga. I like Mims. I like the kid Morgan from Arizona. I think Patrick Paul from Houston is really good. Like there's a few really good tackles that I would be perfectly happy with. And if you can net yourself a 2nd round pick to slide down like 6 picks or something like that, heck, I would even consider going back even further. Like I think the Jets will wait till they're on the clock because if Olu's there, I think they will take Fashanu if one of the top 2 tackles are there. But after that, I think it gets a little murky.
So finally, Ryan, so here's a thought. You, Green Bean, Matt, maybe what we can do is like put up some kind of chart and everyone put their IDs and let's see who get it right.
So actually our first draft stream that we did, we had for each day of the draft, we had our, like in the little panel, like right here, we had a list of like our 5 players that we were hoping would be there for the Jets pick at that particular point in time. And I think I talked to Matt and Bean about this a week or 2 ago, like behind the scenes. And I was like, dude, we should do that again. That was like a lot of fun for people to come in and see like, this is where we're kind of feeling. And I think what I'm going to ask them to do is to create a top 10 big board for who you would want the Jets to take at number 10, or maybe just in the first round in some capacity. Maybe if it's even top 5, something like that. Yeah. And then have the 3 of us have it on like a little rotating thing so you can see like Ryan's big board, Matt's big board, Green Bean's big board. And I think that's just interesting to see who's right on certain things. I was really high on Sauce. Those 2 didn't want to take Sauce at number 4, but I was not thinking wide receiver at 10. And I know Green Bean wasn't thinking receiver at 10. And Matt was really high on Garrett Wilson. He was pumped when Garrett got taken at 10. I was like, all right, cool. I really wanted Jermaine Johnson, but whatever. And then we all lost our shit when Jermaine wound up going at 26 when we traded up. But I love it. I think it's fun to have that accountability.
I think you wanted CD Lamb as well.
I did. I was a big CD Lamb fan. I understood the rationale going for Becton. I thought CD Lamb was so good, and I feel good about like that analysis too. And even like Jermaine Johnson, like every now and then I get a few guys that I like lock in on. Justin Jefferson, I was super high on that draft. I thought Lamb was going to be better, and obviously 1A, 1B, whatever it is, they're both phenomenal. And Judy and Ruggs, end up not being like so hot either. So I don't know. I get on my certain tangents. I'll find a player or 2 that I'm like, that guy's going to hit. Like that's a good one. I would like that. And you can't tell me that I wouldn't want CD Lamb over Mekhi Becton right now. I definitely would.
Right. Yeah.
How about them Jets?
All right.
Thank you for the call. You've been ejected from the cockpit. I got Jake Cons on the line. Jake Cons, how you doing, brother?
Fine. What's up, buddy? Long time no speak.
I know. How you doing, dude?
Good. Nothing. I go on with Richie and Jack every week. Question for you.
Sure.
I don't respect that man that was just on, but Alan Lazard, I mean, that's insanity.
I want no part of Alan Lazard as wide receiver 2.
Insanity to bring that man back. That's
I mean, you have to from a financial standpoint, but yeah, I don't want him as the number 2 guy.
What we could find a suitable replacement at the right number. You don't think so?
He would cost us salary cap space to cut him. So from a financial standpoint, it doesn't make sense to do it. Like it would hurt us more this year. Like it's worth just having him eat a roster spot and not play him than it is to like cut him. It's weird. It's an odd situation.
I get that. I understand that, but I want to see Xavier Gibson potentially take the next step. So I guess what are we doing? Are we getting Calvin Ridley? So we got Calvin Ridley, Garrett Wilson, and then Alan Lazard and Gibson in the slots. I'd rather see Brownlee over Lazard. I don't care if you cut Lazard.
Yeah,
Get rid of him. We don't.
I would say Ridley's a very realistic option. I want Cortland Sutton. That's who I'm hoping we make a move for. And then I still want to draft a receiver. Like if we sign or trade a receiver in the offseason and then draft one, and then that way, like even if that receiver has to sit behind Lazard for a little bit or compete for wide receiver 4, I think you do it. I think you just got to load up the arsenal.
But let me ask you a question. How high do you want to take a receiver? What
I would consider 10. 100% I would consider 10. Yeah, I would.
And
if
we bring it back, it better not be sorry.
Well, so no, it depends how tackle gets handled, right? If they're of the mindset that AVT is their right tackle because of the financial situation that's going to go on next year, his 5th-year option is going to be paid like a top 10 tackle. They might deem him as the tackle already. Then on the left-hand side, if they are feeling like, hey, let's get the best guys we could possibly get, if they believe Bakhtiari's health is there, I could see that. I could see a Tyron Smith. I could see a Trent Brown. I could see a lot of different options they could plug in. Or they could say Jonah Williams at right tackle, and they're like, okay, AVT's our left tackle. Like, depending on how they feel about the tackle situation, I could see them going weapon in the draft. Because I think Odunze is going to be better than any of the wide receivers we're actually going to be able to attract. Like, Pittman's going to get franchised. Evans going to get franchised. Higgins going to get franchised. I think Ridley shakes free, but he's going to have a very tough market that we're going to have to try and compete in. I think we're going to have to trade for a receiver. That's why I'm kind of penciling in Sutton as my guy.
Ridley. Who?
I think Cortland Sutton from Denver. They're going to be $60 million over the cap. And Sutton, we have his wide receiver coach from 2018 to 2022. He's our receiver coach now. So like he was drafted in 2018 when that guy was there. So maybe he wants to play with him. And his contract is really favorable. It's 2 years, 1 year at 13, 1 year at 13.5. That's like the financial point we're going to be at that I think is perfect because Lazard's getting $11 million. And then if you wind up trying to go after Ridley, he's going to get $17, $18, $19 million a year. And that's going to be a little tougher to swallow.
Ryan, I wouldn't fucking pay him $11, let alone $11 million. Give me a break. He's trash.
We already signed him. The ink's dry. Jay Cons, thank you so much for the call. You've been ejected from the cockpit. That was a good call. I enjoyed that one. We got about 15 minutes here if you guys would like to call in. If you guys want to help support the channel and you like trying to make a little bit of money, if you go over to Underdog Fantasy, promo code JETS247, you'll get a 100% deposit match up to $100. I've had a lot of fun playing with their pick'ems over the course of the season. Now I try to stack them all. I try to make like $5 into $200 as best I can, and it doesn't always work out for you, dude. But I've had a lot of fun with it. I enjoy it. Hopefully they'll keep sponsoring the channel. And if not, I got to find someone else. But if you guys want to support the channel, use the promo code. I don't get any kickback for it other than them just wanting to support the channel or continue sponsoring the channel. So I appreciate it if you use that code. And I think if I get a few more, I get like a little bonus. So I shouldn't say I don't get anything. There's like a certain threshold that I need to like eclipse it. I don't know if I'll actually get there. We'll see. Not too many weeks left in the season. What else you guys talking about in the chat? Alan and WM, you guys are going off in the chat. What are you guys talking about? So you guys are talking about Alan saying Reed is going to want crazy money. Trade him now. So there is a strong argument for trading DJ Reed. There really is. And I thought about making a video about this, but I don't want to see DJ Reed traded. Like for me, I would rather let him walk next year for a compensation pick and have him for a Super Bowl run this year. Now, if you're telling me I could get a first-round pick for DJ Reed, I don't know if you can do that, but if you can, I'm probably trading DJ Reed. A second-round pick, I don't know. Maybe if I'm on the clock and someone makes a move and I'm like, okay, that's, reasonable. The reason why you think Reed might be expendable is because when we didn't have Sauce or Bryce Hall, our secondary didn't miss a beat. Like, did not miss a beat at all. And that's the part that's, like, at least a little bit interesting. You're like, well, maybe we don't need Reed. I don't subscribe to that mindset. I thought he's been lights out. He'd be cornerback 1 for us if we didn't have Sauce Gardner. We would love Reed if he was, our CB1. Now, I do get what you're saying. If Reed's going to want $18, $19 million a year, like he should, I mean, he should want big money. He's played well. Top 15 corner the last 2 years. If the Jets can flip that into a 4 or 5 year starter for significantly cheaper, I think you have to consider it. It's not one Jet fans want to hear, but it's definitely something that should be on our mind. Now, with Douglas being here, I'm less likely to believe that it's actually going to happen. I feel like they brought in DJ Reed, both Saleh and Douglas, and they're going all in for a ring this year. Like, why make a move for a lottery ticket in the second round? Let's say we're getting a second round pick for it. Why take a stab at a lottery ticket that may bust? Like, you going to roll the dice? Like, oh, I'm going to trade DJ Reed for Denzel Mims, or I'm going to trade DJ Reed for Stephen Hill. Like, there's a lot of scary picks that could happen in the draft. I don't subscribe to trading away DJ Reed. I would like to extend him. I think that would be a really good option. But I understand where the Jets may consider it because of how Hall and Eccles played when those guys were out. Maybe there's a situation where they want to see Michael Carter as more than just a nickel, more than just covering like the inside. Maybe they're like, hey, if we're going to have to pay this guy, let's move him to the outside where he can also play inside, and then you kind of shift it up a little bit. I'm fascinated to see how we handle our secondary. I mean, you can make the argument like, hey, look, if we take a step back in the defense and we're instead of number 3, we're number 10 in defense. Well, if we go from number 32 offense to number 14, 13 offense because of that trade, maybe it's worth considering. It's a really, really tough conversation to have. Adirondack guy says, keep Reed. Let next year figure it out. That's sort of where I land. And when I'm looking at our franchise tag for next year, it's probably going to be Reed, I think. Let's see. What do we got? Who are free agents next year? 2025. You got Michael Carter II. You're not going to franchise tag him, but maybe you sign him to a long-term contract now. Zach Wilson's not going to be here. AVT's going to have a monster 5th-year option. I would love to extend him. Tony Adams is going to be a restricted free agent, so you're going to hit him with the RFA tag. Eccles is a free agent. Sherwood's a free agent. Xavier Newman's a free agent. Malik Taylor, Nick Bawden, Tanzel Smart, Tay Hayes, Bruce Hector, Irv Charles, Surratt is a restricted free agent. Zach Kuntz, exclusive rights free agent. So yeah, the biggest ones on that list: Michael Carter II, Tony Adams, sort of AVT, but he's not going anywhere. Now, the reason that Reed is on here, there's a bunch of guys with void years. So I think, let me find this. Mosley has void years in 2025 right now. Laken Tomlinson's got void years. DJ Reed has void years. Uzama, Conklin have void years. So these guys are actually going to be gone. So I don't know why Dwayne Brown is still technically on this list, but it's because he's, I guess, not officially cut from our roster yet. So yeah, Conklin's got void years. Reed's got void years. Schweitser's got a void year in there. They're pushing money around a little bit. We've got over $100 million for next year, or for 2025 though. And how many? 41 under contract. So not great yet, but you got to add draft picks this year and next year. So it'll be a little different. But keeping DJ Reed, I would like to keep DJ Reed, and I would rather roll the dice on, if it doesn't work out next year, then you have DJ Reed walking and recouping a 3rd-round pick. And because we would have put ourselves in cap hell, and if it doesn't work out, Rodgers is probably retiring, you're going to eat that massive dead cap hit. It might be worth doing it in 1 year. And then just moving picks, not signing any free agents, allowing your guys to leave via free agency, at least the ones that might garner some draft capital. And then 2026, or 2020, 2026, You'd get your comp picks, and you'd start, sort of resetting the mold at that point. Ideally, it just works out. And we're not talking about this, and Rodgers here another 2-3 years, and we're signing everyone back. And everyone comes back. That's what I want to see. Jimmy Jets comes in, says, offensive tackle Jermaine Illuminor wants to sign with the Bengals, according to Sports Illustrated. Oh, I didn't know that. Interesting. I would have thought he'd want to follow his offensive line coach. But I could see that. Interesting. So he probably wants to replace Jonah Williams on a team that's ready to win a Super Bowl as opposed to going to the Giants. Makes sense. Alan says, I like Reed, don't love Reed. He's very good because of Sauce. Trade him to Detroit. Oh, could you imagine trading? Oh, I would trade Reed in a heartbeat for Jameson Williams. I would do that. I don't know if that's something Detroit would do, but like, you give me a weapon in return. I love Jameson Williams coming out of that draft. I don't know if they can do it based on like his dead cap hit. But if you made a move, if you traded Reed, you'd have to get me a weapon. Get me something back I can use this year. I don't love the idea of trading him. Anisha says, question, is there a way to restructure Lazard? There is. You can restructure him because he's going to be here anyway, and you can kind of alleviate his cap hit regardless and then just cut him after with a little bit of dead cap in the future. But I don't know. I'm cool with moving off of him whenever that ends up going. Kevin says, how much does the salary cap go up this year in the NFL? So it's not official, but right now they're saying that the 2024 salary cap, I don't think it's official yet, is $246 million. Is that right? That's the Jets team salary cap. I don't know if that's actually legit what it is. Then they're projecting a $14 million raise in 2025. And then a $24 million raise in 2026. And then a $30 million raise in 2027. So it's going to exponentially go up, especially with the TV contracts coming in. There's going to be money to spend. So I don't mind the void years kind of going out a little bit. What do we got? We got 5 minutes left. Let's see what you guys are talking about in here. Brees finished year 2 of a 4-year deal. Yes, he did. I think Brees is going to be here. We're going to franchise tag him if I had to guess. Unless, like, maybe next year after the season, we decide to re-up for, like, a 3-year contract. But from a financial standpoint, I mean, honestly, I think they're going to have to sign. If Rodgers is here in 2025, they're going to have to give Brees a contract. Because if I was Brees, I would hold out in 2025. If they're like, okay, we're going back in for another ring or going for a Super Bowl or whatever, you're going to need me. It's worth it to pay me now and, keep me for the next 2 years. He's going to have a lot of leverage if Rodgers comes back after next season. Jacob says, you can't just pick where Reed goes. I mean, you can to some degree. You just don't trade him to the teams you don't want him to go to. Wildwave says, bro, listen to all these free agents. Bro, we can't keep everyone. Trade him while you have maximum value. I can understand the argument for trading Reed. I just don't love it. In my mind, I want to go all in for a Super Bowl now. Unless you're getting me something like really nice and shiny, I would be hard-pressed to trade him right now. WM says, the only way he's retired after the season is if his Achilles is absolutely cooked and significantly diminishes his play. Well, I think that's what happens, right? Like I don't think Rodgers retires if he plays well because I think the Jets wind up doing well and everyone comes back. If the season goes to shit, I do think Rodgers is gone, regardless of how he's feeling. I think he might hang it up if the season really goes to shit. Hope not. Isaiah says, would Rice's son be a good compliment to Garrett Wilson if we get him in the third? Isaiah, have you been paying attention to what I'm saying right now? I've got a mock draft coming out this week that you will be very pleased with, I think. I am very high on Brendan Rice. Big fan of him. Hawk says, Jerry Rice's son is a 6th rounder at best. He's a non-factor. Hawk, what the fuck are you talking about? Pardon my French. Let me take you to school real quick. All right. So if Brendan Rice is a 6th round pick, Sports News has him as the 60th best player. PFF 67, NFL Draft Buzz 71, Draft Tech 73, MDDB 82, Mike Renner 83, Our Lads 91. None of those are later than end of the 3rd round. And that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 scouting reports. Hawk, you send me some scouting reports that has Jerry Rice's son as a 6th rounder, and I will apologize. But for right now, I say you are batshit fucking nuts. And you're wrong. You are incorrect. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200.
That's it. You're out
Hawk.
of here.
Get me lose my mind. He says, Jerry Rice was never a physical freak. He had more cardio than DBs. He worked harder and wore them down over the course of a game. His son don't have that. And even if he did, the game is different now. I disagree. I completely disagree. And according to the scouting reports I brought up on where people have him ranked, no one fucking agrees with you, Hawk. Dropping F-bombs here with the last 2 minutes left. It's all right. Let's go over to Johnny real quick. Let's see what Johnny's got to say. Johnny, how you doing, brother?
What's going on, man? Am I the last one on here?
You're the last one on. Talk to me.
Hey, man, I'm ready for this upcoming Senior Bowl to see who the players are going to go ahead and take. I've been seeing on the chat, a lot of people are talking about, I think the first couple rounds are set for us. I think it's going to be line that we're going to go, right? So I'm more worried about now, like, hey, what are we going to get in the 4th? What are we going to get in the 5th? Who are those players that could potentially be some of these players that are falling on some other, boards and whatnot. I'm a guy that I'm seeing that it has everybody, like from what I've seen, I know everything changes, is McConkey. I would love to see if dude fits everything that you would want in a wide receiver and whatnot. Don't want Bowers. I'm a big Bowers fan. I'm a big Georgia fan. Right, always have been and whatnot, but we just got too many holes that we need to get filled up. So, like, Fuaga, 3rd, I'm kind of torn between, Zinter, maybe Sweat from Texas, because, giving another person that's going to go ahead and stuff the line would help with Quinnen, because we don't know if what is it, Woods or Jefferson are coming.
Yeah, Woods is probably going to retire at, I think he's 38 coming off the Achilles. Jefferson, I would love to bring back. He's 30, I think, 31. I would love to bring him back. I think the Jets go sniffing around Fletcher Cox as well.
Yeah, and that's what exactly what I was going to say. He's been somebody that's consistently every offseason, it's like, is he going to be a Jet or is he not going to be a Jet? I know that's like Quinnen's guy that he's modeled his play style after and whatnot, but we'll see. But I'm more intrigued to see in the later rounds, like, who are the players that are going to go. I mean, what's your take on that? Who do you think we go after? I think after the line is full, I think we're just going to get weapons, man. It's just going to be like, let's just see which wide receivers we have, and let's just get them and get them and get them and get them and get them. But what's your take on that?
So my idea, let's take free agency sort of out of the equation for right now. First round for me is offensive line. I want Olu or Fuaga, one of those two guys, solve one of the tackle spots for the next 10 years. I think that's an important part. When I get into the 3rd round, I am thinking wide receiver. So a Brendan Rice or a Tez Walker or, I'm sure there's going to be a few different guys. This is a really good wide receiver class. I would love to have a 2nd round pick. So if you can trade down, get me one of the right tackles, like a Mims, a Latham, a Fuaga. I mean, you could talk about the kid from Morgan, Morgan, the left tackle from Arizona, or Patrick Paul, the tackle from Houston. I like all those guys, honestly, and a lot of them are down at the Senior Bowl. So we're going to have a lot of really good insight into some of these players. So for me, if you can get some combination of offensive line and wide receiver in the top 3 rounds, then you got 2 fourth-round picks. That's where I would target a guard. I would target a backup quarterback in that capacity. One of those 2 picks. Whichever one. If Zinter's there in the 4th, I would run up to the podium and take him. Once you start getting, I don't think we have a 5th-round pick. I think we got a 6th and 3/7 is what we're looking at right now. And at that point, I'm just it's dart throws for me. It's high upside guys. It's, depth pieces. It's things like that. I'm not really penciling in anyone to be a starter after the 3rd round. 3rd round is where I'm hoping to still get some sort of value.
Yeah, and I think that, if Zinter's there, it's a must. I keep reading reports that are saying, mixed reports that he won't be ready by that time, but that's not the case. He's healthy. He's got the surgery already done, and he's doing therapy. So
they're saying you're talking Zinter?
Yeah, I'm talking Zinter.
They're saying he's definitely going to be ready for training camp. I guess it's probably a coin flip as to whether he's ready for the combine in 2 months. That's he probably won't do all the testing. I bet he does some testing though.
Yeah. So it'll be exciting to see, man. But
Johnny, I'm cutting you off. You've been ejected by the cockpit. I love you. I'm going to grab Mutt Viles as well real quick. Hang back there, Mutt Viles, for just a second. We'll have you be the last caller. But I got Blitzcrew's comment. Blitzcrew says, drops may run in the family, but it seems that Jerry Rice didn't seem to pass along the stickum to his son. So let's take a look at his drops. Let's see what we got. Because I did my research on him, and then I did not... I don't know if I may not have looked at drops, so I could be wrong there. All right. Receiving wise, drops. He had 2 drops this year. He's had 10 in his career. 2 this year, 5 last year. So 7 total while he's been at USC. And the 2 years prior to that, he had 2 and 1. So I don't know what you guys are talking about. I don't know. Maybe there's certain throws or certain drops that are not deemed drops. Maybe that's what I'm missing out on here, according to those stats. I don't know what you're talking about, Mutt Viles. I think you're wrong. Let's see. Mutt Viles brings this up before I bring him up on stream. He says, Ryan, hi, how do you see the draft being handled if we sign Ridley/T. Higgins and sign a right tackle from the Pats and Tyron Smith at left tackle? So if we sign one of Calvin Ridley or T. Higgins, and we get a right tackle and a left tackle, which I think is probably a little far-fetched. I don't think we're getting 2 tackles in free agency, but if that were to happen, I would say Bowers is squarely in the conversation, and I would say wide receiver is squarely in the conversation. But Tyron Smith is also older, so you can roll the dice a little bit on, is Carter Warren going to develop into possibly the heir apparent, or are you okay trading down and then getting maybe a more developmental tackle in the 2nd round? Sit him behind one of the tackles that you draft. That's my thinking. But let's bring in Mr. Multivitamins to see his actual thoughts.
I haven't heard that name since the first time I think I was on this show.
Dude, we were talking about it last Tuesday. We brought up someone else popped in and we were cracking jokes on the name, and I was like, man, this is just like multivitamins. It's I will never see Mutt Viles' name and not think multivitamins. It's just one of my favorite things to say.
I never thought of that, though, but I think it was Matt that came up with that. That was really good.
That's all right.
But no, the scenario I just sent you, I think that's the only way I can see us taking Bowers. Because I don't know what it is, though. It's the Kyle Pitts thing that has me
sure.
Do I want a tight end this early? Do I really want a tight end? That's it.
No,
that's all I think.
I get that.
Been fine.
I think exactly what you're saying is if the Jets get a left tackle, I think it opens the door for Bowers because I do think AVT, I feel like they're going to pencil him in at right tackle. I don't love it, but I think that's how they're going to try and solve tackle, or maybe they'll say that publicly so that way they get their tackle at 10. But I don't know, man. I don't want them to necessarily go Bowers at 10, but since they had Michael Mayer on their list at 15 last year, I would be shocked if Bowers was not on their list, given we have the same exact tight end room we had last year.
And then who do you replace in at right guard? That's my only thing. If you put AVT at right tackle or left tackle, now you need a guard. Who do you take then?
I'm a big fan of bringing McGovern back, and I think Rodgers wants McGovern as center. I think Tippmann's going to play guard next year. Ideally, in my mind, I'm signing a tackle in free agency. I'm moving AVT to left guard. I'm bringing Tippmann over to right guard. I'm bringing McGovern back as center. You got Wes as your backup center guard hybrid, and then I would draft Fuaga or Fashanu or something like that at one of the tackles, and then I'm only looking for one tackle in free agency. I think that makes a lot of sense to me.
I can see that though. Definitely though, you gotta throw
maybe
the bag
Lloyd
to the receiver.
Cushenberry, the center. Like I'm not even opposed to like drafting or bringing in a free agent center and then like moving pieces around, because I feel like the free agency interior offensive linemen are significantly better than the tackles.
If that's the case, then yeah, then I'll just move AVT though. But do you keep them Lakin Thompson though on that last year of his contract, or do you just get rid of him and just get some money back for it?
I don't want to keep him, but what I would do is I would hold on to him till training camp, or at least until you have a viable replacement. I think his money can be cut at any point, and if you cut him post June 1st, you save $13 million as opposed to I think $9 or $10 million right now. And he's been healthy, so at the very least, I'd love to go through training camp, make sure we are healthy, and then give him the ultimatum at that point. Say, hey, you got to take less money if you want to stay on the team, or we're cutting you, and you're probably not finding another job elsewhere. And like you got to play a little bit of hardball. But that would be my route. I don't ideally want to see Tomlinson as a starter, but I don't want to cut him at the beginning of free agency either.
The only reason why I wouldn't mind keeping him though at that guard spot though, because he's been the healthiest offensive line we'd had like the last 2 years. So
and you can
why would you
argue
get rid of
that the lump sum of all these guys playing, like if you have a bunch of okay offensive linemen that are playing all 5 spots the entirety of the year, that could be better than like some top level guys that are missing games here and there, and you're not quite getting everyone in sync, and you're falling around all over yourself.
That's it.
Exactly.
It's all chemistry. Like the quarterback with the receivers, it's the same thing with the O-line. Last thing quick though, is I know you're gonna bounce me out of here.
Yeah.
Over or under for the Super Bowl, they show Taylor Swift. Over or under 15. Over or under that.
15.
I wish though, like Greg Haynes, underdog, and all them, put that as a freaking prop bet. That'd be the funnest thing.
Well, it's definitely gonna be a prop bet, 100%. 100% DraftKings got it. Did you see NYJ Matt convinced DraftKings to do Sam Darnold MVP odds?
No, he didn't.
He did. it's plus 20,000.
Does Brock Purdy get hurt again?
No. But he was just like he's like, you cowards, put Sam Darnold on as MVP, Super Bowl odds. So DraftKings put him on at plus 20,000. They're going to collect $25 from NYJ Matt. But I might throw $5 on it too, because like fucking Sammy boy, baby. There's no quarterback I want hurt more than Brock Purdy right now.
Like, oh my God.
I want Sammy boy. Dude, I love Sam Darnold. I'm a big Sam
I know you did. I know you did. You're one of the people who wanted to keep Sam and just build around him.
No. I will correct you there. I thought it was the correct move to trade Sam because of the contract and reset it all. Now, in hindsight, you probably run it back with Sam, decline his 5th-year option, and then franchise him if he plays well and take the 49ers trade back. That would have been the right move.
Well, that wasn't then that wanted to keep Sam.
No, I can't. I won't change my tune. I wanted Zach Wilson.
No, I'm trying to think then. Who the heck it was? It was one
there
of you
wasn't.
three.
I don't know if there was any of us. I think most of us were saying like we got to move off the quarterback at this point, mainly because of the contract. There were a lot of fans saying like keep Sam for sure, but I think the content guys. I don't know if anyone was necessarily saying keep Sam. But
I remember though. But
I don't care. You've been ejected from the cockpit. Oh, multivitamins. I love you, brother. All you guys in the chat that are members of the channel, like I'm talking about channel memberships, not just a fan of the channel. I love you all, first and foremost. But second off, if you guys didn't check the community post, there's a members only post that is top secret. Top secret right now. I highly suggest you go over there and take a look at it if you're interested in it. We are going to announce some other stuff, possibly. I think it's going to be tomorrow on Talking Jets. But members of the channel, you guys get an early sneak peek at what we got brewing. Stuff going on. Blitzkrieg says, I'm wrong. Contested catches at 25%, not drops. All right, so that's not great. But honestly, I'd have to go back and look because contested catches are an interesting stat. If you have a lot of contested catches, then it could mean you're not getting separation. If you are getting a lot of separation, that could mean you're not getting a lot of contested catches. But if he's only catching 25% of the contested catches, that's something you got to take a look at and see what those contested catches ultimately looked like. Because stats are very deceiving. Pros and cons. Everything. So I get what you're saying. You were just really fucking wrong on drops, Blitz Crew. Look at my files. Jerry Rice's son and dropping balls doesn't exist. Duh. Elon saying Trent Brown, huge attitude. So Trent Brown, his issue, and I'll bounce out in a second here. But Trent Brown's issue right now, health, big issue. Second off, there were reports coming out of New England that he is late to meetings and lacks motivation. So that attitude could be highly concerning. And if you are thinking about going Trent Brown, you might be more apt to just re-sign Mekhi Becton at that point and bank on the upside of your own draft pick than bringing in someone who's already disgruntled. Man, I have a hard time feeling like I want to bring Mekhi Becton back. I don't think I want to do it, but I can understand the argument. Not that that's what you were saying right there. Wow. Snowball says, Ryan, I have a Jets Discord hat. No way. I don't even know how many Jet Discord hats we sold. I have one in my closet, and I think you might have the other one. I think that's it. Those were great. We had some good Discord stuff for a little bit there. Now maybe I'll come back and bring it back. I got hit initially with like some copyright stuff on it, and then I found a drop shipper that like just doesn't ask questions, and I was like, we'll do it over there. We'll do that. Why not? All right. Well, we're at the end of our show right now. So I think I'm going to wrap it up right here. You guys can let me know your thoughts of everything we've gone over in the comment section down below. Love to hear from you guys. Make sure you hit the like button on the way out. Got over 100 people in here, not even at 100 likes. Go a long way if you hit that like button. I'm going to be back doing this show 8 o'clock to 10 o'clock from now on, now that the Monday shows are done over on the AFC East Roundtable and Roundtable Sports. But I believe this might be a 9 o'clock to 10 o'clock stream moving forward. And then Talking Jets, myself and Dom C are doing a Talking Jets draft over on the Talking Jets channel starting next week on Monday. I got to get with Dom, but I think that's going to be 8 o'clock to 9 o'clock, then 9 o'clock to 10 o'clock here, and then Green Bean and Dom do their 10 o'clock mock over on Green Bean's channel at 10 o'clock. So we'll do a little bit of content, pass you along, right? That's how it's going to go. Boys and girls, it's been a lot of fun hanging out with you tonight. I love the call-in show. I've been debating next year during football season. I might move the call-in show to a different day purely so I can watch a little more football with kids. It is tough. It is tough trying to watch football, and eliminating a Monday game from my arsenal feels like a flaw on my side. But I do like the call-in show. Decisions. We'll see. See what we do. Boys and girls, thank you so much for tuning in. It's greatly appreciated. Hit that like button on the way out. This is Jets Talk, signing off. JETS.
Family on three, 1, 2, 3.